Wait, I'm loading up studio, not player. Or is that the same thing? I don't know. I can't tell. I hate that I have to install it every time though. Why is that? What's up with that? Sigma boy, Sigma boy, Sigma boy. Oh shit. Unk went on Jubilee. It looks like 20 Dems. Wait, 20 Dems and Republicans versus ft.Cenk. How do I pronounce his name? Like someone's uncle or something. I think that's his name. Or that's him. Oh, let's see. Let me look at this real quick.
We've tried establishment Democrats, complete failures. We've tried establishment Republicans, complete failures. We tried fake populism under Donald Trump, complete failure.
I disagree.
So the only thing we haven't tried is left-wing populism.
Cenk,
and you say, don't try it. Go back to the establishment Democrats. Are you crazy?
You can't vote Democrat and then say that, well, because they still support the rich and the rich still get all the tax cuts, I'm still going to cast my vote, which is the most powerful political weapon you have, to the very establishment that you're on one hand trying to tear down.
That's just weird to mention guardrails against firing people when you rejected a union at your company and fired somebody for organizing.
Yeah, that is absolutely not true. You could say that if you like.
That is true. Look it up.
Fine. So since you smeared me, let's explain. Hi, I'm Cenk Uygur. I'm host of the Young Turks live weekdays, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. I'm also the head of the TYT Network. I'm also founder of Just Democrats Wolfpack and Rebellion Pack, where we're trying to bring the country together. And here I am surrounded by 20 Democrats and Republicans, and I'm going to try to bring them together. Claim number one is that Democrats and Republicans agree on economic issues and try to divide us and distract us with culture wars.
Right.
How are you, Cenk? Good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
My name's Oliver.
Hey, Oliver.
Yeah. So I guess the first place I want to start off with your claim is to first say that I think there's a grain of truth in it. And I think I would largely agree that when it comes to the system of neoliberalism, the system of capitalism, I think there can be a lot of overlap. I think where I would probably push back a little bit is when we look specifically at what policy issues get passed and how they affect people, there seems to be a very big difference. So for example, under the Biden administration, we saw with the expansion of the Affordable Care Act and Medicaid, we saw over 8 million people become eligible for Medicaid who were previously not eligible. If we contrast that right now with what's in Trump's big, beautiful bill, over a 10-year period, that would make between 15 and 16 million people ineligible for Medicaid. So it seems on a crucial economic issue that affects people's ability to, survive, have quality health care, live quality lives. There seems to be a stark contrast. So I'm just wondering, your thoughts on that.
So where I would disagree is the word stark. So I understand there is a contrast. That's why I vote Democrat. But these are giant buts here. So first of all, they say on Medicare, we should negotiate drug prices. The Democrats say, and then they never deliver. They didn't even try to negotiate drug prices other than on insulin and maybe 10 other drugs. And you go, well, that's pretty good. No, that's 10 drugs out of tens of thousands of drugs. At a maximum, it's only a $6 billion savings, when in reality, what we actually would do if we negotiated the drug prices is several $100 billion in savings. So what I'm saying to you is, while the Democrats do some things that are positive, they do it almost as a release valve. So they go, okay, here's another example that you mentioned, the Affordable Care Act. You know what it was called before it was called Obamacare?
You can enlighten me. Yeah. The Romney was a plan that was tried in a Republican state.
Exactly. It was called Romney Care.
Yeah.
And you know who came up with it? The Heritage Foundation, the same people who came up with Project 2025.
Okay.
That is a corporate release valve so that people don't build up too much pressure and go to a rebellion or a revolution. But in the bottom line is, that was a tiny, tiny little fix thought of by a right-wing think tank. And then now when you say to negotiate drug prices, Obama never did it, even though he ran an ad called Belly where he said he was going to do it. Biden does at most 6% of it. The Democrats are constantly doing 5 to 10% as a little release valve, but keep the machine going exactly as it is.
And we can totally agree that.
So they're weaponizing a system that was created by the same team. But I think that ignores the individualism of Mitt Romney versus Donald Trump, right? Like, I don't think Donald Trump's not Mitt Romney. So his own thought process on Obamacare is going to be totally different,
that there should be more that's done. I guess maybe I was taking your claim too literally, which is that Democrats and Republicans agree on economic issues. And maybe you put a qualify in there. Is it largely agree? Is it mainly agree?
It's definitely large. Yeah, okay. It's not 100% agree. Otherwise, it would be too obvious. But is it true that they largely agree? Of course. So I'll give you many other examples. Paid family leaves at 84%. Yet the Democrats never seem to be able to pass it. Why do they never pass it? Because they're not trying. They said they do the public option. Joe Biden didn't even introduce the public option. Why? Because they agree with Republicans.
Well, I don't think they agree with Republicans necessarily. I just think that sometimes it's hard to pass legislation in a bitter.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say. I think this is a good statement, right? Democrats and Republicans agree on economical issues and try to divide us with culture wars. I think that is true. That's a part of the reason I didn't vote. It's because I feel like if I vote, even though you want to say it's my most powerful political weapon, my most powerful political weapon is proactivism. Actively talking about these things and making sure it's brought forth and saying this to people. Because if you're never, I'm gonna say it's wrong to not get into politics, but if you're never even just aware, you don't have to say in like being aware and in the know, you would know that honestly, voting is not even good biz, right? A lot of people I knew, I did a whole YouTube video. A lot of people that I knew, they weren't voting either because the system, it's obviously fake. And it's like, well, why would I even partake in an obviously rigged system? First of all, because it goes by donors. It's how many people are donating, really. And they're kind of pre-fired anyways. Like most of them are pre-fired, I feel like. Regardless, voting just seems like it's like a ritual I'm partaking in. Right, and it's like I've already had one humiliation ritual. I don't need another. I think I'm worsening the problem by voting. Now here's what the thing is, right? I wanted Trump to win, not based on because like, oh, I'm a racist, right? Oh yeah, me the black kid, the racist black kid. And it's like, oh, deport these immigrants, all that. Like, it's not even nothing like that, right? I wanted to win just because of the topics he spoke on. And he was talking to niggas, bro. He was talking to men in general. And that was what really was the case. And then with Kamala, another thing I had like bad faith in is the fact that like, so I remember when like Biden was trying to get like the student loans, debts and things like, I was just seeing like, that's why I was like never really able to get anything passed or get anything done. And that right there to me was just like, well, I mean, how much confidence can I have in the power of either of them really? But Kamala as a president, just because like, even Biden couldn't get student loans fixed. It just seemed like the Dems were not really able to get things across or anything. So there's nothing against Kamala. I know people like attack Kamala. They did this. Like, I don't give a, like, she's just like a character to me. Like, I don't really care about Kamala Harris. Like, I don't know. Like, people are just, they're kind of too deep in on that. Like, I just think they just want to make fun because like, I don't know, something. And I do like Kamala's like personality, etc. She's fun. She's got like a happy vibe, but she never really spoke to problems that I really cared about. You know what I'm saying? And even then, Trump had already had too much aura. He had already had too much people on his side. Like it was like, there's just no way she was going to win. It's just, he was already too popular, right? She wasn't even the primary vote. So it was just kind of like, even if some of those things, because some of those things did benefit me that she spoke on, but it was like there would literally be no point even voting because she was guaranteed going to lose. She was guaranteed going to lose. She wasn't as active. He was active every single day, every single night. You don't understand. I told you this before. I went to sleep. He was doing a rally. I woke up. He was doing a rally and he was doing it for like a whole week straight, like multiple days back to back to back. Like the nigga was teleporting. It was like he was teleporting. Like I couldn't believe it. I was like, he wants it too bad. He wants to win so bad. There's no way. How can you compete with somebody whose work ethic is that insane? He was not going to lose. He wanted to win too bad. He wanted it way too bad. He wanted it way too bad, way too bad. He wanted it way too much. He had Elon on his side, all of Twitter. So, and I'm not saying that this administration is bad by any means. It's not bad by any means. I think it's a good administration to some degree. But I think a lot of things that he campaigned on definitely did not come to fruition. That's definitely for sure. Especially like the files and stuff.
Divided Congress. Would you acknowledge that it's difficult very often in order to get things done? You don't.
No, see, that's the number one excuse Democrats use. Okay. Oh, golly gee, there was nothing we could do. And they're saying there was nothing we could do. There was nothing we could do. Okay. In reality, he didn't even try for the public option, Biden. He didn't introduce it. So that polls at over 70%. Why not try? Sure. $50 minimum wage. The Republicans didn't take that out of the bill. Joe Biden took it out of the bill. You see those things where you can tell intent. And the intent is he actually agrees with the donor class and the Republicans. He doesn't want those things. If you can't pass a bill at 84%, then are you saying the Democrats are the most incompetent politicians in history?
I'm not saying they're the most incompetent party. I'm also not saying they're perfect. I think that we risk running into an issue where we equate the two parties as being virtually the same, which leads people to not voting whatsoever at all because they think the whole class is against them. And I'm in complete agreement with you that the parties are. That's
what it feels like. It's like it doesn't even feel like what they speak on. It feels like what I see is in the background, and I can only close my eyes and sort of figure out the shape of these objects in the background. That's all I can do. And something that I think I feel is that corporate interest is always going to outweigh an average fucking bloke. What the fuck, bro? Fucking alarms, man. Corporate interest is always going to outweigh me. I'm not beating Walmart, right? So if Walmart has a lobbyist who's willing to pay $50 million, what the fuck is my vote going to do against $50 million of interest? You get what I mean? And so I'm just kind of sitting here like, well, these corporations have way better capital and more pull compared to me in order to get things done. So does it really matter if my vote or say, like, doesn't really? It really doesn't. They have donors that are making these decisions and getting all the campaign and all that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just one man. And sure, if we all stick together, we can work, but that's not even going to work because we're too stupid arguing about trannies in bathrooms and you know what I'm saying, black people and crime rates and immigrants when they don't even realize, nigga, y'all in the same boat. So that's why. And some of it is like entertainment to try to like kind of be provocative and, you know, get your watch time up. But a lot of it was really just like, I don't think it's even worth it. Like, it doesn't seem worth it. I feel like if I partake in it, I'm allowing the ritual to continue even more, you know?
The two-party system is fundamentally broken, and that Democrats in a lot of ways have a lot of the same issues. I guess what I predominantly have an issue with is those who maybe don't take the time to have nuance in the discussion and just say, oh, they agree on economic issues and they only want to divide us on cultural issues.
Yeah, but brother, so here's the difference.
It's important to make that, because otherwise people stay home. They don't vote, and then we're in the situation that we're in right now when a lot of people don't end up voting.
No, but Oliver, so let me tell you my perspective on it. That's really important.
Okay.
So Democrats always say, hey, look, there's a 5 to 10% difference, so you should vote for us.
Okay.
But they don't quite say it that way. You understand that. I understand that.
Sure.
A lot of people here understand that.
Marketing is a thing.
Right, but
Remarketing is a thing.
but hold on. This is super important.
Okay.
But they tell the voters, we're going to make a big difference. We're going to do minimum wage. We're going to do public option. We're going to do paid family leave.
Yes.
And when they don't, people get disappointed and disappointed. And that leads them to not voting. That leads them to hating the Democratic Party.
Sure.
What I'm saying is go with populist left. That is the one thing that has not been tried.
Sure.
We would actually do the bills. We do the bills. Otherwise, then you're the same as the
Okay,
Republicans.
fair enough.
Right, but it's like, why make promises you can't keep?
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Oliver.
Hey, Jay, great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Great to speaking with you. I agree with your overall term here. I would say that at the end goal, they agree that economically, we all want the same things, right? But the way we get it is two completely different economical viewpoints. We have the left that tends to be more socialist and communist, and we have the right that is more crony capitalist.
Okay.
The left wants to take your taxes and they want to distribute it the way they want.
Yeah.
The right wants you to keep your taxes right now. They want you to keep your overtime taxes. They want you to keep your taxes on tips. So what is your...
Yeah, so first of all, brother, you got to stop saying socialism and communism. None of the
Why is that?
Because none of the Democratic politicians are in favor of that. They're actually...
They are. Bernie's quite literally...
Mamdani literally actively campaigns on socialism, like literally. Like that's literally his whole thing.
Yeah, no. So he says he's democratic socialist. Even he doesn't really go towards what you would consider socialism, because you're putting socialism and communism in the same bucket where they don't belong. None of them are in favor of ending corporations, ending capital, etc. In fact, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, their number one problem is that they're corporatists, not that they're socialists or communists.
No, they quite literally...
Yeah, that's the problem. Their corporate interest is outweighing everything. I'm not a fucking... Dude, me as a fucking voter, I do not have that much power as just a voter. So that means I have to do more in order to get my point across. I have to create my own agenda and put out my own press, right? In order to actually make a change. That's what real proactivism, is that a word? In politics is. A vote is not enough. A vote is not enough. You have to keep pushing your own agenda. And my agenda is Republican, Democrat, we shouldn't even fuck with that. We should either, like what Elon was trying to do, make a whole new party that is just completely America's best interest. Or we just don't, everyone just stops voting. If nobody votes, now the problem is that it's probably been statistics. So like if PewDiePie makes a video and says, nobody disliked this video, someone's gonna do it. That's the statistics, right? If you give people the option, they're gonna do it. What I'm getting at is, irregardless, the less people that allow the system to work, the more you try to fuck it up, the better off we'll be in trying to rebuild it in a better way. Now, I think Elon's idea is a lot better, right? Because you can't just get everyone to not vote. That's just impossible. But you can sway people in the direction of a better interest of just everyone. Fuck a fucking tranny. Fuck a fucking gay person. Fuck a fucking immigrant. Who is here for America and America only? That's what it comes down to. Everyone's interest in America. We all here. We all in the same boat. We're all in the same boat. And that's what matters. Look, I know it's niggas that don't like America because of what happened in the past. And we already know what happened in the past. And I think most niggas are willing to forgive and be like, okay, whatever, that is what it is. And I think most niggas be like, but you shouldn't be inconsiderate of why someone would act a certain way because of what happened in the past. I think that's fair. Regardless, the problems that Kamala spoke to and the problems that Trump spoke to, they have a division. It's like they're not even focusing on everyone. They're focused on these minorities, these little groups. So where it's like, I can't do it.
They would do whatever corporate donors tell them to do.
They wanted to
That is
end
the exact
businesses over
opposite of
vaccine
communism.
mandates.
Yeah,
That was-
no, brother.
Yeah, no.
But that's drug companies. They're doing the exact opposite of communism. They're saying corporate donors will do whatever you corporations want. So when you turn to the Republicans, it's the same thing as Oliver. They have a 5 to 10% release value with Donald Trump now. He's pretending to be a populist. So he goes, oh my God.
Donald Trump isn't pretending he is a populist.
Well, look at
He just won the popular vote, both left and right, moved in his direction.
Hold on. So when you talk about that bill, the budget bill, that is not big or beautiful. It is big, but it's definitely not beautiful.
Sure.
The majority of the tax cuts go, of course, as always, to the rich, right?
Right.
But they put in a tiny...
The corporations are the problem to me. The biggest problem for me is the corporations. It's the fact that these niggas get the most out of it. So they're paying for so-and-so to spread this agenda for their own interests. You get what I mean? And it's like, it's cool, but everyone doesn't benefit, and that's the problem.
Release valve of, we'll help the middle class a little bit on tips and overtime. Whether that even stays in the bill is a different question.
How come
But
every
what are
time
they doing here? Let me tell you a
Republicans
fact.
He can't pull that. You see how he pulls that where that says no, that stays in the bill. That's a big win for the bill. He just tried to pull a fast one. Like, whether or not no tax and tip stays in the bill, it's going to stay in the bill. The only one that took out was AI, and because you can exploit AI very easily.
I make more money.
More select you as Obama already always goes to the rich. For example, in this bill, they're cutting Medicaid. You know how much is going to people making above $500,000 a year in tax cuts? $1.1 trillion. Okay? So they're literally taking from the poorest people and giving it to the richest people.
Which is what the liberals have been doing forever. So what's the difference?
How are they doing? So no, brother, what I'm saying is you're actually proving my point. Democrats and Republicans constantly say that they have giant differences. Then what did the Republicans do? They do massive tax cuts for the rich. And then Obama, by the way, came in and actually made Bush's tax cuts permanent, which cost us even more than the original Bush tax cuts did. So there's a lot of theater about how they disagree. But at the end of the day, the rich always get tax cuts.
Save more money when Republicans are in office. Why do you as a business owner you save money?
So you know why? So I'm a small business owner.
Sure.
So we save a little bit of money. The giant corporations save a ton of money.
Isn't it better if everybody?
Yeah, that's true. Like, you're a little like this. Like you as a little peon comparing, it's not in any way close. This guy, Walmart, fucking makes loads, and they pay nothing. Walmart pays their employees very few. Let's see. I'm gonna look it up. Kendrick Lamar. Size ChatGPT. How much money does Walmart make versus how much they pay their employees? Let's see. A fiscal year, 640 billion of total revenue and a net income of about 15 billion. Just give me brings an enormous value 40. Nigga, what are the percentiles, bro? Bro, just give me a simple short answer in percentiles. 12% of the revenue. 12%. For the CEO, his pay is about 976 times the median of the average employee's salary. You think that nigga investing is going to do anything to my vote? Because that person is going to pay for psyops. That person's going to pay for crazy marketing to psyop a whole group of people for them to argue about. They're going to put out all this marketing in groups of people, right? I can't control people's brains. They're going to put all this out. They're then going to control the people's brains by psyoping them by transgender in bathroom, this person doing this, black people committing crime, fight here, fake news, all this agenda. They're paying for this fake propaganda, right? And then me, little old me, being like, well, guys, this whole thing's it's a farce anyways. What we should do is protest against the system that's proactively against us and not even partake in it. Everyone doesn't do that. And then we are sitting here, years later arguing about tax cuts for the rich, etc. But these tax cuts were inevitable, let's be honest. And that's because Walmart is going to spend $50 million. And I'm just saying that as a right? Because I'm not saying Walmart directly is employing, but I'm sure that Walmart has some corporate interest of people buying their products, right? So some lobbyists from Walmart, some APAC member, whatever the fuck. I have to sit here. I lose. We all lose. Our vote is not as important as they're trying to make it seem. My greatest, strongest political power. Sure. I have a better chance of swaying an election by proactively putting out press and my own agenda about what I think and investing in my own company to put my own agenda out there than I do of just a vote. So what I'm on is like, that's way more important than just sitting here, I'm just going to check this fucking box, give them this piece of paper and, All my problems are solved. I just saved the world. I'm gonna be really good now. Sure. You know, the fucking billion-dollar mogul who just paid for an ad is really serving, is really gonna be in my best interest. And I'm really gonna outdo him. I'm really gonna outdo that guy. I have the advantage by voting. Sure.
Everybody saves money.
No, it's not.
Why
because,
not?
brother,
That makes no sense.
No, brother, it's easy to say, okay, then we shouldn't have any roads, bridges, cops, fire departments,
Nobody's
schools.
saying that. We
No,
just don't
you
want
are
our money
saying that
going
when
to
you say there's no, we shouldn't have any
We just don't
taxes.
want our money going to foreign countries.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
On drag events.
And by the way, that's
So-
another thing that proves my point. Republicans and Democrats always do whatever AIPAC tells them. So that is a foreign
that's a whole
government.
different argument.
No, it's not an
I
argument.
would
It's the same
agree, so-
argument. It's the donor class.
Thank you, Cenk.
Yeah.
My problem, I don't really have a problem with anything. My problem is that niggas can pay for the election. My problem is that they have marketers. Now, obviously, or investors, and I obviously know that's for marketing, right? That's because they have to, you know, get Trump on a fucking billboard and pay for jets and whatever the fuck, right? But a problem for me is the unique struggle of corporate interest. Why can some billionaire pay for all this propaganda? Pay for, like, that's just not even a fair. It's not us versus the fucking system. It's us versus billionaires. We're fighting billionaires. I'm fighting a fucking billionaire mogul. What am I supposed to do? All I can do is fight a billionaire mogul. My vote is not as powerful as they're trying to make it seem. All I can do is fight a billionaire. What else am I gonna do? What else am I gonna do?
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So when you talk about this concept of like a release valve, it seems like you're downplaying very relevant and very important differences that exist between the parties. So the Affordable Care Act, you understand that it expanded coverage to like millions of people. More people got Medicaid, premiums were subsidized. Like, this is good policy. And I agree with you. Sometimes, in many cases, Democrats lack a spine. They don't push hard enough. But I think chalking it up to like, they're pretty much the same, there's just a little release valve difference is a little bit reductive.
Yeah, it's not at all reductive, and the Affordable Care Act is a perfect example of it. So you're right, it was better than the previous system because the previous system had pre-existing conditions, and you can get blocked for that, and American people despise that. So it needed to be changed. That is part of the reason why a right-wing think tank, Heritage Foundation, came up with Romney Care. It's a release valve, and it's a Republican idea. Then Mitt Romney took it and passed it in Massachusetts. That's why it's called Romney Care. Then Obama and Romney ran a campaign where they pretended to be on exact opposite ends of the spectrum with the same exact healthcare plan. Literally the same exact healthcare
So
plan.
do you think the ACA is like a right-wing health insurance plan?
It was literally created by a right-wing
Like
think
the
tank, Heritage
Republicans right
Foundation.
now in
Yes.
Congress are trying to push a reconciliation bill that literally guts Medicaid when the ACA expanded Medicaid.
Yes. So they always move the goalposts. So what do? They bring in, okay, here's our release valve. Okay, now the American people are still mad. Of course they are. Because, and here, let's talk about the next steps that happened. Obama said, oh yeah, we might do the public option, which would have been not universal health care, but a good step forward.
Right.
I was there. Young Turk's been around forever. And I was like, yes, you got to do the public option. Then Obama says publicly, oh, I guess we can't do the public option. Wink.
Well,
and they
that's
immediately
the
took it
Joe
out of the bill.
Lieberman, right?
What's that?
That's because of Joe Lieberman, right? But 59, 59 other Democrats would have voted for the
Okay,
public
see,
option.
that's exactly what I'm talking about. So that they
This is how
always, hold
politics
on, they
works.
always have an excuse. So right now, under Biden, the excuse was, oh, we don't have enough senators. Oh, golly, gee,
That's how you pass
hold
laws,
on,
though.
the filibuster and the parliamentarian. And then under Obama, they had 60. They could pass anything they wanted. They're like, let's take a really, really long time with Romney Care. Oh, oops, we ran out of our 60. Things changed. Okay, now the Republicans are ignoring the parliamentarian when they're trying to pass this bill. So the Democrats keep finding excuses. Why did they take the public option out of the bill?
You think
Why
Obama
did they
didn't
never
want the
introduce the
public
public
option?
option back again? I don't think the Democrats want the public option at all.
When 59 senators said, we'll vote yes on this, and Lieberman
That's
tanked
what I'm
that.
trying to tell you, brother. They don't mean it. So let me give you two examples.
getting that from?
Where am I getting it from?
If
Joe,
Lieberman
where am I
agreed, would we
getting it
not have
from?
gotten
Number
the
one,
public option?
the public option polls at over 70%. They didn't even try to pass
Sure,
it.
but
Number
with
two, when
healthcare policy-
Biden came into office, said he was going to do public option,
Yeah.
and then he lied, and he never once introduced
had,
it.
like, no
If he never
political
once
capital
introduced it,
compared to Obama.
oh, now they don't have political capital. Golly gee,
These are
other
the realities
excuses
of how
for,
you pass
oh my God, I
legislation,
can't,
though.
I can't. The voters
It's
are
not I
sick of I
can't.
can't.
It's not I
Why don't you
can't.
actually
It's more-
try?
it's more
So tell me why
difficult.
they're such losers. They
It's
can't
more-
pass paid family leave at
Listen,
84%.
I
Are they
agree with you
losers,
on
or do they
policy.
actually secretly agree with the Republicans,
Cenk,
and they don't want any of this because they're corporate donors?
I agree with you on policy. I want paid family leave. I want single payer health care. But this is not like super easy to pass. You're like, if they just all
Yes,
hold
it
their
is.
hand and
I
say,
can get it passed in
"Kumbaya,"
2
we're
weeks.
going to get like
2
single
weeks.
payer.
Okay, so here's how you do it. Guys, you see, you've been taught by mainstream media and Democratic politicians to accept failure. Oh my God, there's nothing we can do to pass it. There's nothing. Here's how you, what you do.
can't pass it,
Here's
but it's
I do think that is like, they gotta fight more. They really do gotta fight more. Because it is annoying. Like, what do you mean you can't pass? Like, what, like, so all the people that's voting against this shit is like, that's the process. Like, I mean, word through the grapevine, why is it that, you know what I'm saying, one person can just boom, and then I'm trying to muddy the waters, but if you get what I'm saying, why is it that one cause can just be boom, they vote and it's goddamn 470 to 6, and then you got one that's like they fighting back and forth. It's like, why? What's up with that? Huh? Okay, I don't get that part. So when they're like, we can't pass these bills, well, clearly there's something there that they can pass some shits easily. They can pass some shits with no problem. They apparently all it take is one fucking thing for it to be 470 to 6 and fucking 250 to 250. I don't even know how many of them, but I'm just guessing. You get what I mean? What's up with that? Why can they pass that? So they can do that real quick, but when it comes to cutting student loans, nigga, it's like Biden out here struggling just to get that bit passed. They bullshitting. That's why I'm like, they just bullshitting. I'm tired. They bullshitting. They bullshitting.
Super
Difficult.
easy.
It's not
Listen,
easy.
listen. Paid family leave is at 84. Why do I keep insisting on that? Because here's what you would do. You would introduce it. 74% of Republican voters want it, and then you would say, "I dare you to vote against it." If you vote against it, you're voting against 84% of Americans, and you will lose your next
Therefore,
election. I will
nominally.
campaign against you. I will find a Republican to campaign against you.
No.
And then, but you say, "No, God, don't even try. Don't even try."
policies-
Oh, we have these giant
hold on,
differences,
hold on.
but we never pass our bills.
say
We never even
Republicans-
try.
hold on.
And who took out $15 minimum wage? Joe Biden took out $15 minimum wage. So they never
say-
mean it, brother. When is it going to get through to you that they don't pass
say
it
that
for a
Republicans
reason?
agree with us. They agree nominally. I'll give you a great example of this. If you poll Republicans, should we cut Medicaid? They say no. When Medicaid's actually cut and you poll them, they're just cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. So like nominally, yes, everyone agrees. Universal health care is good. When you get into the nitty gritty of actual policy, it gets a lot more complicated. I agree. Democrats should fight much harder, use the bully pulpit, campaign on these issues. But the idea that they're willfully, purposefully sabotaging themselves, some of them sure, but this is not as easy as you're painting it out to be.
Okay, so number one, on minimum wage, we at the Young Turks fought for Bernie to put it back in and at least get a vote. Okay, it got a vote. And guess what happened? The 8 Democratic senators who were pretending to be in favor of it all of a sudden voted with the Republicans. They had more than enough to block it because the Democrats don't mean it. They always do rotating villains. So, brother, at what point are you going to say the failure is on purpose and not, golly gee, they're the Washington Generals against the Harlem Globetrotters?
When you have slim majorities, paradigm shifting policies is harder to
But
pass.
60 is not a slim majority.
But I think Unk does bring up a good point. But what is the play? I wonder what the play is, because I feel like there's a Giga Chad play here. So you know how they say like smart people know when to play dumb? I think that's kind of where we're getting at. But what advantage do they get by not passing the bill? Obviously, like maybe, you know, they spend less but I feel like just how common it is and how much they're willing to spend on other causes. It can't just be financially. It has to be some sort of influential problem, maybe. Because why are they so like, why is it when we're like, okay, Biden's like, they're going to forgive student loan debts, and then next thing you know, oh, they couldn't get the bill passed, and then they say it again, they're going to pass that they can get the bill passed. Is that on purpose? But what do you gain from? The only thing that really makes sense is it only makes sense as a complete 180. And what I mean is, or at least say like a frolic puppeteer, where the true motive is that it's not real, none of it's real, and it's all in favor of sway for the next coming party. So we're going to make Democrats look really weak now. And people are always going to want to go Republican because if Democrats look really weak, or this next political campaign, we're going to make the Republicans look really weak, and then people are going to sway Democratic. That's all I can see. All I can see is fake press for putting out bad information that they can't get this bill passed or they can't do this, so that people's like, oh, I don't want to be on that team. That team's kind of weak sauce because why are they so trash at getting bills passed? Right? Trump's getting all these bills passed. Biden was barely getting anything passed. He wasn't even there. They were running on an auto pin. And so it kind of seems like, is this some sort of like flustered backing that we're just not getting commuted from? Because that's the only thing that my brain can perceive, is that it's sort of just like this magician's play or a stage that they know is prominent in people's psychology, where they're going to operate and use the deficiency as a sort of marketing propaganda ploy to say, we are the deficit party, therefore you're probably going to move this way. Just a thought I had.
You constantly
Biden
make
has 60.
excuses. Obama had 60
minimum
and he
wage.
still didn't do it. If they could have 80 and you'd still find an
ACA
excuse.
was massive legislation that he got with 60.
Yes,
60
beautiful
votes.
Romney Care from Heritage Foundation.
Nice meeting you, man.
Thank you, man.
How are you?
Hey there.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So you raised a very interesting point when you said that Democrats and Republicans agree essentially on the same issues and that they want to distract us with culture wars. The question that I would raise is, why are culture wars a distraction when they are such a vital issue? It's important to myself as a conservative, and I'm quite certain to every Democrat in this room. Issues like abortion, social justice, or things that affect us in ways that maybe some policies only benefit the rich. Why should we not focus on things that benefit Americans every day and that can affect women's bodies? Or
because it's a low IQ thing. Why is he arguing this? This is such a bad faith argument. Why shouldn't we focus on culture wars? Oh, why shouldn't I distract myself? That's literally what he's literally asking. Why shouldn't I distract myself with something that doesn't matter? Because there's a different problem at hand.
gay people's right to get married or maintain the right.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that socially.
So why the fuck is you? Why is he worried? Hold on.
like abortion, social justice, or things that affect us in ways that maybe some policies only benefit the rich. Why should we not focus on things that benefit Americans every day and that can affect women's bodies or gay people's right to get married or maintain the right?
Yeah. So I'm not saying
What a that's a horrible fucking take. That is a bad take. That is overall one of the worst takes. He's saying this because he thinks it matters. Do you think it really fucking matters that a tranny goes into a bathroom? Like, in terms of just the grand calculus of the universe, do you think it matters about like, a lot of that stuff doesn't really matter? Because most people's problems is finances, money. So they're distracting you with this fucking random shit that doesn't really equate to more money. The judiciary system is going to favor females regardless. They're smaller, they're weaker, they're fragile, and men are liars. We know this. Let's be honest. That's why it happens. It's because niggas be lying. And hoes are weak, on average, compared to men. Come on. So, and that doesn't mean females aren't liars either and they don't do men wrong, right? I'm just saying, you know, but on average. But his argument is because I get what he means, where it's like, these are important things that people face every day, 100%. But what you're not getting at is that's the tactic. The tactic is they're going for your identity, everyday things, because they know you're going to be so attached to them. When the real problem is, nigga, they have a fucking corporation paying for the win. Nigga, they have a lobbyist, they have an entire social media platform. Every single thing that you do, watch, consume, programming your brain for your own belief. They're programming you. This is what I'm on. Is like, dude, the problem ain't even the problem what you think it is. The problem is it's a whole nother world happening. A whole nother game. It's not even about an immigrant. It's not even about abortion. It's about this nigga that's worth 100 fucking billion versus you worth probably not 100 billion. It's you versus Peter Thiel, not you versus some random tranny.
I think that social issues are not important. That's why I vote Democrat instead of Republican, because I believe women should have the right to an abortion and many of the other things that are on the left, okay? But at the same time, when you talk about trans sports, for example, do you know how many trans athletes there are in the NCAAs?
No, I don't.
10 out of 500,000 athletes. Okay. So for 10 people, we had this giant debate, and the far right were like, no, that's it. This is what the Democratic Party is all about. And the far left was like, yeah.
But look, here's what I'm on. What they're doing is procrastination tactics, wasting your time arguing. No tranny should be in a female sport. End of story, end discussion. That's it. You don't need to argue. Get them out, and that's it. You don't have to argue this. This is common sense. This is basic fucking fundamental shit. Biology, chromosomes, cells, nigga. So, my nigga, why the fuck is there a culture war on that? That's not even that. Why are we talking about this a culture war? It's a distraction. That's what it is. It's not a culture war. It's a distraction.
Yes, that is all we're about. And this is about vulnerable communities, and you have to protect them. So this is the hill we're going to die on. And we're going to talk about this nonstop, okay?
They're getting the majority to focus on the minority when they don't even realize this little column bar that you're in, it's like a percentile, right? You got like 70% red and 30% green. And they're in this fucking thing. Nigga, you don't even need to be worried about that motherfucking bar. Nigga, you need to be worried about who is controlling the bar, who's holding the bar up. Nigga, goddamn, it's $1 billion company got that bar in a motherfucking lake. A lake bar. Nigga, that's the problem. I don't give a fuck about a goddamn nothing. I'm worried about Zuckerberg and his policy that he was doing on Facebook. Remember when Zuckerberg was doing that weird shit on Facebook with the grapevine when they was messing with the policies and shit that could be shown, the COVID misinformation and shit? That's what I'm on. That's the real problem.
But meanwhile, we're getting robbed every single administration. Trillions of dollars in tax cuts under Republicans and under Obama. Tax cut after tax cut for rich, for the corporations, deregulation after deregulation. You know why they want to split us? They want you to fight left and right. They want you to look left and right. They don't want you to look up. Look up. Okay.
Well, of course.
Exactly, nigga. Look up. Look up. Don't look at the green and red bar. Look who's holding the fucking bar. Look around the whole spatial awareness. This guy he just brought for such a low IQ take. Like, what is he on about? I just cooked him. No cap.
Of course, having to look up is very vital, okay? My master always tells us to look up. That's why I wear the cross. But the point that I'm making is that social issues, in order to really, wouldn't it make sense to effectively mobilize people, you should start with things that can touch them every single day. Social issues impact children, women, men, all of us across all ages and across all ideologies.
I mean, I'm not one to insult the intelligence of someone, but I mean, come on. Is he really asking that question? Is he really, like, he's talking as if he's talking as if he doesn't know that they don't have people's best interests. They don't have our best interests. They want to make money. It's a slave trade. So sitting here being like, wouldn't it make sense if people, if they cared about people's day-to-day problems? No, they don't care about people's day-to-day problems. And that's what they're using. They're using people's day-to-day problems as leverage to attack them. That's how they're manipulating them. Why is he asking this question? This is a bad
Shouldn't
argument.
it be for the American population whose average attention span is maybe 43 to 56 seconds at best to influence them politically? Would it be best to start with something like a social issue that would then raise their awareness to issues dealing with the rich?
No, you're putting too much dependency on an idiot, on an average Walmart American. How did that code? What are you saying? What are you saying? What is he saying? He's basically saying, shouldn't we attach this person to their identity, use that identity as a clause for why they should think that Zuckerberg having $1 billion and making $26 billion in a day. I think Zuckerberg made like the most money he's ever made in a day yesterday. It was $26 billion. Making that much money in a day. Shouldn't someone care about that? No, you think there's people's brains are just going to go to that after they just got focused on their fucking race identity? No, they're using that to get people to attach to that. So then they can put them in the arena. They can put them in the green and red bar field to go fight the other person who opposes that view. It's an opposition psyop. They're getting psyoped. And he doesn't even, how does he not see it? How does he not see that that's the clause?
And issues dealing with taxes, why not?
Because that splits us. It splits us on purpose. Those don't unify. I say the exact opposite. Why don't you start on bills we all agree on that have over 70% popularity, like getting money out of politics, anti-war, lowering...
Getting money out of politics. Money out of politics. That's why I'm like, nigga, when Nick Fuentes says that, put me on, they got lobbyists paying for the fucking donor. They're paying. If they paying, then who's voting? Nobody's voting. They're paying.
Drug prices through Medicare. Instead,
play a game. It don't matter how hard. If the game is pay to win, it's pay to win. So it don't matter how crazy I am. It's like a 1 in billion cosmic fluke if I pass the nigga who got $20 billion V-Bucks. Nigga, he got all the Robux. I can't beat him. He paying. It'd be different. He had to pay to vote or some shit.
You get to social issues. Here, I'll give you. I'm from a...
And the more you pay, the more votes you get. It'd be different. It'd be totally different. But no, that's not how it works. So it don't make no sense. The system is rigged.
Vulnerable community. I'm from a Muslim background, right? But if I told Democrats, I want you to focus only on Muslim rights, that'd be mental. Don't do that. I'm not saying don't care about Muslim rights. I want you to care about that. I want everyone to have 100% same rights.
What I'm saying is why
build credibility by actually delivering for all of the American people. We raised all of your wages. We brought down drug prices for everyone, for Republicans and Democrats.
But by your logic, that could undermine certain things like going back in history for a second here, the civil rights movement, things like that, which were inherently social and economic issues in combination. Why not? My question is, why not work with both of those issues side by side? Why are you deliberately attempting to prioritize one over the other?
No. So what I'm saying to you, brother, is two things.
That's not the main problem. Look, segregation's over. We cleared it. Most people's problem is day to day. Slavery was the biggest problem because of the civil rights. But the reason is that everyone's a slave still now. They still have a 9 to 5. They still have to work. That's still slavery. So the problem is not about that. It's that their motive for outsourcing their own freedom and keeping you at a lower wage, or at least lower any mentality, physically, spiritually, money, whatever. That is the power over you. And so to beat that, you shouldn't be focused on identity, shit like that. You should be focused on, we gotta out financially beat these niggas somehow. We gotta out unify them. We gotta unionize. We gotta use our strength of us being together to outdo them. It's us versus them. You focus on us versus each other. It's us versus them. They're demons. Peter Thiel is a demon. You think Peter Thiel gives a fuck about your existence? You think Peter Thiel gives a fuck about humans? He's literally an alien. He's not even real. So I'm so over it.
Number one, you can walk and chew gum at the same time. So you don't have to give up Muslim rights. You don't have to give up civil rights. You don't have to stop worrying about that, etc. You can fight on that, but don't forget, you're not supposed to hate the other side. They want you to hate the other side. Stop hating the other side. Fight on the issues you don't agree on. And then on the things you do agree on, stop listening to establishment Republicans and establishment Democrats that divide you so that you never realize, hey, why are most of the tax cuts going to the rich? Why are corporations getting every break? Why is it that in every bill, all the subsidies go to oil companies, banks, etc.? So why don't we unite on...
Exactly. And don't let them psyop you into believing that you need oil. You don't need oil. When they're arguing about energy, listen. The Big Bang. Everybody's heard about the Big Bang. It predates, 13.8 billion years. The universe is pretty old. I think we can all agree on that. But something that is also prominent in the universe is that it's extremely electric. Like, all of it is electricity. Most of the universe is electrical. We're electrical beings, actually, experiencing a human experience. You look far back into the beginning, early microcosm of the universe, and most of the things that you see are these red shifting planets, these galaxies that are way too old. They're way too old. You're like, if that was real, how would we be predating the age of these galaxies? How could we carbon date how old these galaxies are? They're like completely antiquated. They're so old. It doesn't make sense that the birth of it is in any way consequential to what we're predating the Big Bang to be, right? And that's where my theory of they just turn the lights on, right? And what I'm going to get to is the universe or dark matter, the expansion, it's basically like a veil being opened. And we get to see this imminent light, this UV ray, the spectrum, the ultraviolet light, the electromagnetic spectrum, electromagnetic, completely opposed, as so below, as above, so below. The significance of this is that the universe expanded, and the annihilation of matter versus antimatter created most of the things that you see today. What they're not telling you is that this is a theory still, and there's actually a huge chance that this is just a opening, that redshifting is not real imminently. It's just the perspective shift of your causality, and that you're in an entire electron. The entire universe is an entire electron. And this is another theory, not confirmed, but very likely that we're in an electron universe. The entire thing is one big electron. And if there's things we know about energy, which I'm getting to, is E equals mc squared. So E equals the mass times the velocity squared. If E equals mc squared, what would be the inverse operation of that? That would mean that the mass times the velocity squared equals energy. Wait, the mass times the velocity squared equals energy. So the human computationally decelerates the particle. The expansion happens. You decelerate the particle. Imminently, the electricity versus the magnetism is completely polar opposite. And interpolarity. Interpolarity equals kinetic. It's moving. Interkinetic, potential. So, if something expands and moves faster, the more it expands and gets hot. When we're looking at photons, photons emanate because they have no weight. They're weightless. They're outer dimensional. I'm getting at this because the sun emanates so many photons. It would blow your dick off. It does it all day, every day, forever. What I'm getting at is the electrical EV mandate is inevitable. If we're moving towards robots and AI, we're going to have to go full solar. You need solar energy. But they're going to psyop you into say, oh, it's not going to work. EV mandate's not going to work. Electricity's not going to work, right? Because they make too much money off of oil. The oil is so enriched. You see those Saudis, they got all types of money. But if everyone moved to electricity, you wouldn't even need a fucking gas car. Now, the problem is that it takes a while. But another problem that people aren't seeing is that it's not that it really takes a while, it's that they haven't fully optimized the efficiency of how much solar can be used. Meaning, why isn't that we have car batteries that are completely electrical that get charged regardless? Replaceable electrical batteries for your car. Because it takes around like 4 hours to charge your car sometimes. Why isn't the entire car a solar panel? So it's charging even when you're not using it. Oh man, it's charging even when you're not using it. What would you need? Oh my gosh, I didn't realize it was bad. So I was basically saying, why would I need to go to the gas station if my entire house is electricity, an electron? I'd be chilling. I wouldn't need to do anything. I wouldn't need to go to the store, to the gas station. I could sit my ass at home, charge my phone with my solar panel roof and my solar panel batteries, and you don't lose. But obviously they don't want you to know that, because they know that if you knew that, you wouldn't be voting. There's my rant. We're in an electrical universe paying for gas, paying for water and shit.
By your own logic, that does a disservice to the fact that it doesn't do a disservice. It acknowledges the fact that as you still vote Democrat, you are still in essence supporting
and it's all electricity at the end of the day. I gotta use this because it just died. Like you could make the entire United States run off of solar energy. 100% you could. But obviously they're not going to do that because why would they?
System that you're at the same time talking about tearing down.
Why would I have the best interest of a bot? Wait, is it connected? Drop the pin, then we going in, flip the switch and win. Oh, shit. Bro, why does it sound like that? Bro, why does it sound like that, bro? Drop the pin, then we going in, flip the switch and win. Wide body snatch out the bag. I'm gonna crush the... Bro, this shit sounds so ass. And I keep switching it to the other one and it still sounds bad. What am I supposed to do? Hold on. Is that really what it sounds like? Like, am I tripping? Why does it sound like that, bro? It sounds so bad. Plenty more to spin. Let your boy start hooking, then I'm jumping in. All right, there we go. For some reason, I don't know. I guess it's the tab. Oh shit, wait. I'm tired of them saying this is the most powerful. It's not. It's not. It's not that powerful. Brother, it still goes to an electoral college. It's not that powerful. You have more, dude. They want you to focus your energy on that because the real power is in activism. Pro-activism. If you're proactively spreading your agenda, so whatever bills you want to be passed, that's the only way you can combat their psyop, their operative psyop that they're paying for. They're paying these corporations to put out this type of media and information for you to consume to sway your opinion. But if you are clouding that entire, if you're the cog in the machine won't work anymore. And the machine doesn't work by you constantly talking about this particular individual specific identity. It's about the belief of the bills that you believe should be passed, the things that you think are important, whatever. It is not to attack someone who is your brethren, which is your neighbor. Are you neighbor with are you neighbors with Zuckerberg, Peter Thiel, fucking Elon Musk? Probably not. More than likely not. More than likely you're not in those neighborhoods. And obviously that's facetious. But the point is their class is way more upper echelon. So these arguments are he's arguing for more fighting, basically. He's like, why aren't we fighting more? We shouldn't be fighting more. That's the point. Not the donor class. Great excerpt from Unc over here. It goes vice versa. It goes vice versa. Because there's been more Dems than Republicans in the last 20 years. But he does have a point, right? Because just inheritance, especially like stuff like COVID, but even if there has been more Dems than Republicans, either one could still do more damage on average, right? So Republican can still do more damage on average, and then they have to inherit that regardless. I'm just saying that on average, more happens more of the time that party has been in power. So if the problems are if the problems are array, then it has to be mostly them. I mean, if nigga y'all had the game most of the time, right? They had the stick most of the time. Hold up. What the fuck? Where the fuck is the audio? Hold on. Nah, hold on. 2054. I'm gonna reload that window. For some reason, like, I didn't realize the audio wasn't playing. I mean, all they're just talking about is Dems versus Republicans. Conservative women versus trans women. I don't particularly know. I think I may have to change it to my headphone, whichever one that is. Which one am I on right now? Find My Stereo. I'm on Find My Stereo. Find My Stereo. Let me see.
Right.
There we go. There we go. I'm bringing it back a little bit.
And social issues. You don't have to give up one, but you have to insist on them representing you and not the donor class.
Very great conversation, brother.
Thank you,
Great
brother.
Conversation.
Hello.
Hey.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So I'm not going to disagree with you that in every case, Democrats don't go after the most radical economic policy. One example that
Not
I've heard,
radical. They all pull over 70%.
Sure. Yeah, sure. I'm a Democrat myself. I agree with a lot of what you say. One example of what you said before is that Joe Biden wanted to cut the corporate or raise the corporate income tax to 28% instead of back to 35%. However, I think that one point to consider would be the fact that a lot of the times Democrats are having to clean up the mess that Republicans made. And when someone like Joe Biden only has 2 years of adequate Senate support, right, it's very difficult to argue that he should be pursuing farther left tactics when we're just trying to get a reconciliation bill passed that can be supported by Joe Manchin.
And I think for a second, I already referenced it before, but I just think why is it that this is I think this is disingenuous. Why is it that one person can get a bill passed and it's 40 to 40. It's just, there's clearly an agenda lobby. Why is it that 470 people can vote on one bill to 6, and then it's like there's obviously something there. It's like, so why am I gonna argue? You know, I'm not gonna argue, because I already know that there's some other conflicted self-interest. Like it's almost like it's like lowering your esteem, devaluing yourself for the incongruence. Why would I even sit here and make myself seem like my political power isn't as efficient because of me casting my vote? It wasn't efficient from the start because there's obviously an entire lobby that I'm against. I'm against a lobby of finance, billions of dollars. That's what I'm fighting. Billions of dollars.
Right? The economy was completely destroyed in 2020 after COVID. It was completely destroyed in 2007 after Obama. So there has to be a little give there.
So on economic issues, what I'm telling you, brother, is that they're playing good cop, bad cop. On you, on all of us, okay? So the tax cuts is a perfect example. So you're right. Donald Trump takes it from 35 to 21. It's a massive corporate tax cut. That's on Trump. That's on the Republicans. Then Joe Biden says, well, I'm going to fight that. And he gets a lot of votes to go fight that. And he says, I'm going to bring it back up to 28%. I'm like, wait, it was at 35. So already he's conceding, yeah, I love corporate tax corporate tax cuts. Yeah. Hold on. Then he says, oh, well, Joe Manchin wants to make it 25. So golly gee, I don't have a choice, 25. Then did he fight for 25? No, he never introduced it. Never fought for 25. So you tell me, Joe Biden had 4 years and kept it at 21% and never even tried.
Well, realistically, he had 2 years to get a bill passed. It's the truth. At the end of the day, right, if Joe Manchin sticks it somewhere and he says, well, okay, maybe I'll let you have an expansion of the child tax credit, for example, if you keep it at 21. We don't know all the backdoor negotiations that happened between Joe Biden and Joe Manchin. At the end of the day, right, you can't have everything you want, whether you're Joe Manchin or Joe Biden.
Did you ever consider that they don't mean it? The reason that Joe Biden never tried to raise corporate taxes is because he doesn't want corporate taxes to go up. It was all a trick. It was all a game played on all of us.
No, I don't buy it.
No, I know. There was nothing they could do. That's why they didn't even bother trying. They never bothered trying on any of this. And you keep insisting,
look.
Well, good enough. I'll take my 5% change. Thank you, sir. May I have?
Yeah, it's low key eating the slop. It's low key eating the slop, because it's like, what do you mean you can't do anything, nigga? You're the president. Like it's literally eating slop. It's eating the slop.
And others, sir. So please, for God's sake, wake up and unite to actually get economic policies that we love. The whole country wants.
You can say
except
that,
those corrupt politicians.
In West Virginia, Kamala Harris lost by 30 points. Okay. If you put someone that is to the left of Kamala Harris on any economic issue, they're going to lose by that same margin.
You're totally wrong. Do you know what percentage of Americans want to not cut taxes on the rich, but raise taxes on the rich?
Probably all of them when you ask it that way.
No. What do you mean? On television, they constantly say, oh, cutting taxes is popular. Raising taxes is very unpopular. That's not true. Raising taxes on the rich polls at 76%. You would win West Virginia. You would win Kentucky if you ran on Populist campaign. If you said, yes, I'm going to raise taxes on the rich. Yes, I'm going to give you lower drug prices. Yes, I'm going to give you higher wages. But the Democrats don't say that. They say, oh, I'm going to try a little bit, and then I'm not even going to introduce any of those bills. I don't think the lens that you're seeing it through is the lens that a lot of voters see it through when they're going to vote for people like Joe Manchin, people that will give us a Senate majority. Good talk, man. Thank you.
Surrounded is now a podcast.
That was a good argument, but Punk's right.
Democrats don't want to pass their agenda. It's a marketing ploy, not a mission.
They don't want to pass their agenda. That's what I'm thinking. Like that's exactly what I'm thinking, because it's like it's a divergent, but it's almost like they kill. Perfect example, Loki. Who remembers Loki? Dude, Loki. So Loki. Okay, so pre the entire show, Loki ends up at this like the TVA, right? We know that's the thing, right? But then there's like this pruning thing. So the people get pruned and they end up at this place called the End of Time. People go to the End of Time, and when we get there, we notice there's tons of variants of Loki. So what ends up happening is they have to end up fighting this big ass cloud thing. I forgot what they call it. It's not like Dormammu. It's kind of like Dormammu, but like I forgot the name of it, right? It's like a big dog at the End of Time, but it's a cloud. And what the guy does, he does this like astral projection thing where he builds this giant castle, this holographic spatial dimension castle. and the fucking dog thing comes up and tries to eat it up. But he makes this fake thing for the dog to eat up the slop. But it was only to create a divergence so Sylvie and Loki could enchant it to take it over. So it's like we have to combat their divergent, or it's like their divergent is the marketing ploy for some deception tactic. I don't even know what the deception tactic is beyond them wanting Republicans to win so that they can easily pass without public perception being, because it's like they market the Republicans in the better light of like basic, obvious common sense. And then the Democrats come at it with this like fake thing, or this like ploy that's like doesn't even seem real, doesn't seem like they're even speaking in logic. And then that right there is the majority people moving over to the right. And then the Democrats kind of look like the losers in the end. But it's like, did they lose because they wanted to lose? Or did they lose because they should have lost? Or should they have lost? You get what I mean? Because what I'm getting at is, it's like it seems like it is a market. It's like they're marketing something. It's either like just entertainment where they just make money off of the Giga Chad play. They make money both ways. They make money both ways. Listen, you can't have the same ideology as a conservative and still be in the complacency of what you would say is a capitulated weak man. But if I can do that same thing where I hone in on the femininity of the Democratic Party, I can now allow people to use their lower IQ agenda on that basis. But what I'm going to do is use both the conservative and Democratic movement to psyop each individual, to then use that leverage to my advantage on both corporate end and individual media entertainment end. So Lily Tino, some fake tranny, is going to be going on TikTok using her little fake thing, doing the bathroom thing as a shtick, so that they can make all the money off of Lily Tino and make money off of making videos of Lily Tino and making fun of Lily Tino. And then some nigga's going to do some crazy crime, and then they're going to make money off of Carmelo Anthony, and then they're going to make money off of the race war. So it's a Giga Chad play because they make money off of both. They wouldn't make enough money off of the Dems as they would with the conservatives, because on the conservative end, now people are going to be in allegiance because richer people are in that end, or at least on average, which you would say, country people, I guess, are on that end. And their favor is middle class, corporate tax cuts, AI, sort of like this on the edge, right? The conservatives feel like they have this edge, but the Dems are like we low-key have the deeper understanding of science and intellect, unlike the liberal side. But these people are like, this is the corporate interest and just the country. So like they're a little bit more patriotic and they're a bit more like future oriented, but each side gets their financial gain. And the only way they get the most is through the conservative side. Gigi's go next. I just fully mapped out the play, because they can make money off of the entertainment basis of making fun of everything that the Dems do. There's more subject matter there. There's more material because of how many minorities they focus on. The majority, everyone's the majority. The minority has way more nuance. So that's why they focus on culture wars, because they know if they focus on the culture war, they can effectively psyop everyone into partaking in it, then furthering their agenda of money and market interests and entertainment. And so they're taking the innocence of an actual problem, making it the butt of the joke, selling it as a pitch, while using that same company to capitulate for conservative interests and billionaires and richer and the mega rich, and then using them as a leverage tactic for marketing an agenda, and then selling them, or the MAGA base or the conservative base and liberals, the dream that they're in any sort of competition with this billionaire bracket, whatever bracket it is, which is nearly impossible unless you're a Giga Chad 200 IQ brain genius. So it's basically like it's a multi-level marketing scheme. It's an MLM. It's a multi-level marketing scheme, but it's not used in the way that you think it is. We just figured it out. We just broke it down. We just did it. There it is.
Hi, Zena. Nice to meet you.
Hey.
Nice to meet you, Zena.
Awesome. So
Hey,
I think
Zena.
that we largely agree. I'm like kind of
Hey, Zena. Hey.
others have said. I just like want a little clarity on understanding how Democrats like water down their social issues, things like DEI and other measures to kind of bridge the gap that we've seen in like racial disparity, for example. How, in your worldview, do we reconcile such issues?
So in the beginning, did we need affirmative action? Definitely. Because what happened before the civil rights movement was, so let's say that your firefighters or your longshoremen, those are really good jobs. They pay pretty well. They're good blue collar jobs. What do you want to do? You want to pass it on to your kids because you're normal, right? That's the type of thing that you want to do. But unfortunately, at that point, almost all the jobs are held by white people. So we do affirmative action because, guys, we got to let others in. Otherwise, it's not fair, right? And so that makes sense. But then over the course of decade after decade after decade, we wind up with DEI. And DEI has some good things in it, but it also had some abuses in it.
But does that not account for majority? Like there's just more white people, so they're going to have more jobs, no?
So we covered on the Young Turks, there'd be situations where a white woman would say, okay, now can I tell you my perspective? And they would say, no, shut up.
And with DEI, I'm pretty sure white women get the most out of DEI anyways, so I don't get it. Because they already know they have the ultimate privilege. The prejudice and the prerequisite is that the sufficient amount of people, or at least the qualified, right, are not in a, how would I even say this? It's not in a meritocracy, so they're not even basing it off of legitimacy. And so the ones who have the most privilege are ultimately going to reside because they're going to have the most options.
Job is to learn. No, don't do that. Okay.
So are you talking about like fringe cases in which like someone would say that they feel unfairly treated by DEI? Because I think in any type of law that we're going to see passed, we're going to see fringe cases in which the law is I guess manipulated in some case to negatively affect certain groups. So I think that we see like largely the effect on the black population is extremely substantial and extremely important. For example, we see that like I think there's a study done. I don't remember if it was 2015 or 2002, but it was a study done where they simulated a class-based DEI program instead of race. What we found was equally qualified black individuals were much less likely to be chosen on this class-based protocol, and we saw that like the protocol actually represented a lot less of the black population that exists in this country, whereas DEI ensures that we have a representative pool of applicants and admitted students in our colleges, which is extremely important.
So look, again, DEI
Right.
and affirmative action had their role, had their place, and oftentimes
I'm saying that they have a role now.
So, but what it also does at the same time, though, is serves to divide us. And so, look, if you say to me, hey, maybe Muslims have a disadvantage, even if you take class into account. So
he is right as well. And that's what I mean. They take the innocence of a pure problem, right? Abortion. Women, what it is, they attack a real individual problem, like women having to give birth, one of the hardest shit to ever do, ever. And then they poke it, they stab it. They stab the cause by getting the complete opposed view in the battleground to fight it out. They make you duke it out. When all that time you wasted duking it out on that problem, you could have been pushing your own agenda. You could have been proactively working to do something else other than fighting and arguing about this, like debating about this problem, because you never fix anything anyways. The problem never gets fixed anyways. It's a time wasting mechanism. I know it best. I waste tons of people's time.
should we give a little bit of extra weight to Muslim candidates? I would say absolutely not.
Why not?
Do not do that, because then what it does is it makes everyone bitter about the Muslim candidates.
Here's the problem.
And it makes them seem like they
Here's
didn't
what I
earn
find super
it, when
important.
in fact they did earn
what
it.
you're explaining is the response to the policy, and you're not actually digging at the policy in of itself. You're saying because people will come out and be, racist or Islamophobic or whatever it might be because of a policy that is ensuring equality of opportunity, we should cancel the policy. But that is not a critique of the policy. That's a critique of the Republican or usually conservative response to said policy. So do you have a problem with the policy or the response?
So my point here is that this is among the different things that the Democrats do, where they say, hey, I think they're being performative. They say, oh, we're in favor
might be
of DEI.
performative, but the output
what it
is
actually,
important.
what the thing that would help African American community, Latino community, Muslim community, all those communities is actually raising the minimum wage,
But what we
lowering
find
drug
is
prices. But we never do the material help. We never do the things that equal things out economically.
You still haven't critiqued the policy in of itself. You're saying people will get angry if we come out and we promote these different metrics of
No, I
helping
am
people.
critiquing the policy.
So what
I'm
exactly
saying
about the policy is
because
negative?
it divides us.
How does
And
the policy
so
divide?
even though it has
by
a
saying
ben-
that racism exists?
Yeah. So
but racism,
no,
the
we're
race
not by
doesn't
saying that
exist.
racism exists. So you have to acknowledge reality, right? What you're saying is now we're going to put black people in this category, we're going to put white people in this category.
Because there are categories that
okay,
that
so
exist
hold on,
now
hold
at a
on.
subconscious level that we
so
characterize
even
each
if
other
you
by.
get a benefit from that, you say, hey, I reduced racism by 10%, 20%, etc.
Stop interrupting.
What you're doing is you're not noticing the giant downside of that, which is then people start to view each other as black, white,
We've
Asian,
always done that.
etc.
That's happening unconsciously
But
all the time.
You're right, but what I would love
So we have
is
to-
for us to stop doing that.
All of our
For people
psychology.
to stop
if you
looking
want
at me
us
as
to
a
have-
Muslim and you as a
if you
black
want us to
person.
have less
I want them to look at you as an
if you want us
American
to
and
have-
me as an American.
If you want less racism and less racial categorizing, or just us to see it as less of an initial categorization, studies show that we need to attack racism and race as a concept like head on. We cannot ignore them or input race neutral policy into place.
I think our biggest problem is not a race problem, but more so a class problem. Race ties into those factors, but class is more so the bigger problem, if we're pulling back the veil.
what we find is that characterizing race, saying what it is, saying what racism is, and thus, confronting ourselves with our biases is what limits them. So no, we can't say, oh, let's stop dividing people with the corrective policy. The corrective policy is helping something that has always existed, that's happening all the time.
So I told you I have an issue with the policy itself. I think it divides us.
Explained it, though.
And do the Democrats actually pass their agenda? Even if they agreed with you, did they pass Voting Rights Act? They did not.
The problem is capitulating to right framework, which I think was what you're doing here when you said the response to DEI is going to be negative. The thing is, when we... All right.
All right, thank you.
She was cooking. She was cooking, though. She was cooking. She was cooking. She was cooking.
Hey,
good to meet you.
So Democrats don't want to pass their agenda. I would say they want to pass their agenda. It's just, if you ask 50 Democrats what their agenda is, you get 60 different answers. We've got the environmentalists who hate the labor people hate the environmentalists, we have the gay rights lobby, we have racial justice people, we have all different people, immigration activists. Like, everybody thinks that their issue is the most important one. And I know you don't acknowledge that usually at the beginning of an administration, there's the maximum political capital, and if they don't get something in that time, then they weren't really trying. But what has happened in the past, we saw Biden pass a number of bills in those first 2 years, the CHIPS Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, the American Rescue Plan, Obama passed the Affordable Care Act. We've passed all kinds of things, but we also all disagree on what the hell the Democrats should do. And that leads to the point where somebody is always frustrated in our coalition, because we are not just a big tent, we're a 3-ring circus ring. Like, we have such a big tent that's collapsing in on itself. So this idea that we don't want to pass an agenda, the last point I'll make, because I'm taking up a lot of time, I would just look at the places where Democrats have all the power. Like here in California. California, when you were growing up, I was growing up, I'm actually an 80-year-old man, that's why I got my Mr. Rogers sweater. It was smog here in LA. Like, you couldn't see 50 feet in front of your house. We created not just the most powerful environmental regulator in this country, CARB is the most powerful environmental regulator in the world. And that was Democrats that did that. So this idea that when Democrats have power, they don't actually know what to do with it is bogus. We've seen it here in California. We've seen it in New York with free college. We've seen it in many states. So I just don't agree that we don't actually want to do anything.
Okay, so you mentioned about a dozen things there. Let me take 2 of them as an example.
No, I think I cracked the code. I think I fully just cracked the code. Did I not just fully crack their multi-level marketing scheme? It's that on one side you can make money off of them because of the nuance in the minorities. They're exploiting like they're exploiting the most out of each side. It's a full futuristic exploit. You don't even understand. We just cracked their code. There's so many minorities. There's so many details and nuance in the Democratic side, which they fight for so many problems that they're trying to solve, that they can't even solve all of them in one go. So they've exploited it to where they make the content over Carmelo, trannies, pregnancy, immigrants, all that, right? And they give you the commonsensical or they give you like the complete opposed commonsensical answer. The conservative side tries to lean into the majority and use them as the leverage for their base. They cradle the balls of the base. And then they finesse it by allowing those who were originally in this like cesspool, right, on the right side, or not on the right, but on the Dem side, because I'm kind of like visualizing them right here. On the Dem side, they're exploiting the categorized media monetization efficiency of the left side. You can't make that much money off of conservative content beyond making fun of the other side. I don't think you can exploit it as efficient. I think conservative side is way more efficient by boasting about the achievements, by showing, oh, Donald Trump is doing this, whoa, go America, pro this. It's the patriotic act. It's the patriotic side. So the more America does good, the better that side does. The worse, the more that side does better, because you have a lot of like, domestic terrorists on that side. But that side also has more nuance, more minority detail, more minute detail that you have to come under. This is just like an upper class problem. This right here has, there's so much more in the Dem side, which they really try to attack. And that's why that's why you would consider a liberal on average a more higher intellect, because they have more problems that they have to figure out. But this side on the left leaning, even though I'm pointing to my right, can be exploited. I think they're exploiting it. I think it's a puppeteer mechanism for multi-level marketing where the left side gets absolutely cooked, right? You're making fun of Lillians, you're laughing at fucking, or not even laughing, but, you're watching the traumatic experience of Carmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf. You're looking at horrible things about the immigrants, right? The immigrants at and in California, right? California's on fire. It's literally flooded. right? And it's like that mechanism is allowing the effective showcasing of the veil being pulled, is that they're making money on both sides by making fun of one and then using the other one as like the patriot power dynamic. Oh, let's go America, yeah, no tax on tips, all that.
Example. So the CHIPS Act that you mentioned, right? The Democrats told.
But that's just my inferred vibe check. I can't really confirm or deny that, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. You feel
us
me?
when we were covering it live on the Young Turks. Oh, this is such a monumental bill. It's so important. And I was like, okay, nobody's going to vote based on that. So put that aside, because that was definitely true, but okay, not pertinent to whether they were trying to do something that the Democratic voters wanted. So that they said that was for national security. Okay, there's some truth to that, right? And they said it was, don't worry, this is to create more jobs. So now, what did they do? Very typical Democratic bill. They passed over $50 billion in corporate subsidies. The number one recipient was Intel, $8.5 billion in grants and $11 billion in loans. So about $20 billion overall. I said, for God's sake, at least put in guardrails so they can't fire people. They said, oh, don't worry, Intel's going to create 10,000 jobs. You know what they did? They didn't put in the guardrails. And right afterwards, Intel fired 20,000 people.
That's just weird to mention guardrails against firing people when you rejected a union at your company and fired somebody.
That's also another thing that's annoying. The corporations don't make it easy to fight them either. Whenever some shit hits the fan, they start firing people, right? And it's like those are citizens, right? So now they're feeling the effects of the government pressuring them to pay more taxes, but the company lets go of people. So now they're feeling, it's like they play this dynamic game, which is impossible to win unless you just destroy everything. I'm not even trolling either. I think the only way to fix it is to destroy everything. Get a bunch of terrorists in there, destroy everything, and then rebuild it. How else are you gonna fix it? You're not gonna fix it by, oh, let's come in here as a, nope. They squish that bug. That bug comes in here, they're gonna squish that bug. Think about it, we're bugs, right? We're cockroaches, right? We want to infest the fuck out of the government, right? The government's already infested, but I'm saying the real niggas, right? The people who want actual good change and fix. Because the median of income versus the median of salary and job exponential and inflation is not met its quota. But we're like, nigga, we need to infest the government. How do we infest the government? Nigga, we gotta come in that bit off deep in that bitch, right? We coming in that bitch and we exploiting and we building. And we in the nooks and crannies, right? Elon was the master cockroach. He was the master cockroach. He was in that bitch infesting that motherfucker with Doge, though. He had Doge. I think he still got Doge. He was in that bitch infesting that. That's the real infestation. The infestation gestation. But you see that big ass, it's like there's so much intricate detail that it's nearly impossible. So what you gotta do, nigga, you may as well have to build, like, I remember he posted a picture. It said, what it's like facing the government, a big ass thing of wires. What I'm thinking is, shit, you might have to just make a new set of wires. Just throw that bitch out. It don't exist. Throw that whole shit out, make a new set of wires and call it a day. Make a new system. It's not that hard. We got this antiquated they had checks on old ass PCs and memberships they wasn't even using. What sense do that make? Like real talk. What sense would that make? You got an old ass computer handling billions of dollars of shit. They're not even using it. What are we doing?
For organizing.
Yeah, that is absolutely not true. You could say that if you like.
That is true. Look it up. There's a union now, but
yeah,
you
could look it up to a bunch of liars. But this is a random thing that you're throwing in there, I guess, to just personally attack me. But there is a.
Oh, they unionize on
Get up. There's a union.
Hold on, wait, let me see.
It was don't worry, this is to create more jobs. So now, what did they do? Very typical Democratic bill. They passed over $50 billion in corporate subsidies. The number one recipient was Intel, $8.5 billion in grants and $11 billion in loans. So about $20 billion overall. I said, for God's sake, at least put in guardrails so they can't fire people. They said, oh, don't worry, Intel's going to create 10,000 jobs. You know what they did? They didn't put in the guardrails. And right afterwards, Intel fired 20,000 people.
That's just weird to mention guardrails against firing people when you rejected a union at your company and fired somebody for organizing.
Yeah, that is.
Ooh, they unionize it. Ooh. He's saying you're not practicing what you preach, huh?
Absolutely not true. You could say that if you like.
That is true. Look it up. There's a union now, but
yeah, you could look it up
it
to a bunch of liars. But this is a random thing that you're throwing in there, I guess, to just.
Production and post-production crew at Young Turks voted to unionize in 2020, according to a report in Politico. How do you pronounce his name? ft.Cenk Uruguay? Whatever. Intensely pressured staffer not unionized. We're going to call him CU or UNC.
Personally attack me, but there is a union. I'll tell you facts. Do you want to explain facts?
A complaint was filed with the National Labor Relations Board after a pro-union employee was fired.
So facts are, yes, IATSE is at Young Turks. It's been at Young Turks for over 5 years.
Did you or did you not reject a card check?
Yeah, I did. And so, in fact, card check, yes, that is the one thing I disagree with in the PRO Act. And yes, you are allowed to disagree with one part of the bill or 5% of a bill, right? And so, in our case,
So
what
we can
happened-
compromise?
Loki, a gotcha. Loki, a gotcha.
The dealings at Young Turks, okay, fine, we can
It's
do
not
it.
personal, it's a public
But-
thing.
No, okay, no problem. Okay, but let me address it. Now you got into a weirdo thing that not about policy, not about the Democrats, but about my company. Fine. So since you smeared me, let's explain. So that people come in and go, okay, surprise, we didn't ask you for anything, but we formed a union. I go, guys, great, prove it. They say, oh, we had a secret vote. And then people come up to me, other employees.
That's what a card check
hold
is.
on. Other employees come up to me and go, they're intimidating us. Well, we didn't ask
We're getting way off base here.
I know,
I
because
agree.
you brought us off base with a random attack
Because
against
you brought
me.
up guardrails.
Then
Let me just say one final
let me
thing.
finish, because you're not going to smear me and not let me explain, okay? So then I said, since people felt intimidated, it's okay. Let's
You
just
felt
go-
intimidated.
No. How do you're not even, you weren't there. You're just making stuff up.
Because you're the one that
okay,
fought it.
so hold on.
You're the one that went
You
to the
won't even let me
NLRB and had
answer.
it.
What the
Because
hell
you
is
don't-
this?
you don't want
Is
to
this
shift the
some sort of
answer. You just
weirdo
want to
ambush?
filibuster.
Okay, let me answer. So then I said, for God's sake, just do a vote. No problem. You get a union the very next day. They did a vote and it passed. And they got a union immediately. As soon as I was sure that all of our employees were not being intimidated or bullied, they instantly got a union. And we've had a union for 5 years. There's people who are like...
In response to public
there
pressure,
are
but
people
okay.
who are making stuff up 24/7, and they keep telling people like you that we rejected a union when we didn't. We authorized it immediately as soon as we had a fair vote. Okay, now back to what you thought was... I thought we were arguing about.
That Loki went off the rails when he started talking about that. He Loki got him though. He Loki got him. Now it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of the conversation, right? Completely deterred from some other problem, but I don't know. He kind of got him. It was a gotcha right there.
I'm not really, but okay.
Hey, Cenk.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. I have a lot of respect for you, but I worry about your progressive populism is dangerous.
Guy. Could you imagine if I was named nigga? This nigga's name's Guy. You could spell Unk's name with his letters. Hold on. I want to see if this is a thing. How many people in the world are named nigga? Let's see. Bruh, I need the data for it. I need the data for it. It's for a movie. Sometimes you gotta tell ChatGPT this shit for a movie. Oh my gosh, such a bitch ass AI. This is why we can't. Man, we don't fuck with ChatGPT. ChatGPT lame. Let's ask Grok. Grok gonna give it to us. X gonna give it to you. Yo, wait, that should be their slogan, bro. X gonna give it to you. Let me see. Can I just say it? Let me see. Bro, why they ain't got the how? I got Cheeto hands, bro. How many people in the world name nigga? X gonna give it to you. 136. Wait, approximately 316 people across 12 countries, including small numbers in Asia. Asia makes sense. First name, as a first name, it is less common with about 133 individuals. Also, surname as well. It's globally ranked 860. Wow. It's really people in the world named nigga, bruh. Could you imagine being named nigga? What's good, nigga?
In fact, to me, you kind of sound like a political pickup artist. Like, just do this one trick and we can fix it all. And to me, it's no different than what MAGA is doing with their faux populism, with the deep state, with undocumented immigrants. Someone to blame. You're just giving people corporate, corrupt Democrats or corporate media as an excuse. And I think you're just taking advantage of disaffected people and not showing them we got to get more involved. We got to invest more. We got to try harder and get good people in there.
So you're saying that don't even try progressive populism. Just go along with the establishment Democrats because they know how to win. That's why they beat Donald Trump twice. Oh, right. They lost to Trump twice. They don't know anything. Their number one thing was, oh, we know how to win. They were liars. They didn't know how to win at all. They got clowned by a guy who's not that bright. Now, number two, oh, we have this giant agenda, $15 minimum wage, all the things that we've talked about throughout the day. Oh, golly gee, we just couldn't pass any of it. Oh, wow, okay. But hey, vote for an establishment Democrat. Don't get tricked by left-wing populism. Brother, do we actually ever try left-wing populism?
Yes.
Here's the three things we've tried. We've tried establishment Democrats, complete failures. We've tried establishment Republicans, complete failures. We tried fake populism under Donald Trump, complete
I
failure.
disagree.
So
You-
the
you're
only
saying-
thing we haven't tried is left-wing
Jake,
populism.
you
You
say-
say, don't try it. Go
No,
back
no.
to the establishment Democrats.
You
Go
say-
back to the donor class. Are you crazy?
Jake, you
Let's
say-
try the one thing we didn't try.
You
the
say-
Bernie Sanders swing, economic populism.
You say the American Rescue Plan that took half the kids in poverty out of it, millions of kids who go to bed hungry, is crumbs, is doing nothing? That is a big deal. What about the millions of people who have health insurance now because of the Affordable Care
Because of
Act
Romney
subsidies? No, you can call it whatever you want, but the reality is millions of people have health insurance today because of what the Democrats did when they controlled the House, the Senate, and the White House in 2022 under the Inflation Reduction Act and the American Rescue Plan. I can't stand that you call it crumbs. People don't want their whole lives given to them. They just want a little breathing room like our big President Biden used to say.
So you say you're super happy with the 5 to 10% that the Democrats gave you.
It's not
Well,
5 to
brother,
10%.
There's two things here. Number one, I don't know what economic class you're in, but the average American is not happy with 5 to 10% change. They want giant change. They want the actual, by the way, the Democrat agenda is great. great. Our populist plank, the 6 most popular bills in the Democratic agenda, are super popular with independents and even with Republicans. But they never, ever do the most popular bills because they're economic bills. And you say that's good enough. But then why not try the entire agenda? Why not go with an economic populist like Bernie Sanders or Ro Khanna that's going to give you the whole agenda and actually try? Why give up ahead of time?
Those are great plans, and we should strive for them. But this is a giant country. We're the 3rd largest country in the world. We have a complicated democracy. We have to do things slowly. I know you don't like that. I know you want to get there, boom, boom, boom. But people do not want to abandon what they're used to. It sounds great on paper. Would you like single-payer healthcare where you save trillions of dollars and you pay less? Of course. But then when you show people how we get there, they're scared, they're nervous, and they have a right-wing media machine on overload that is scaring the hell out of people. That's what we're up against. This is reality, man. Welcome to it.
So Martin Luther King called this the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. So they tell you, don't worry, we'll do that tiny bit, and then when you elect us again, we'll do another tiny bit, and 200 years later, this will get done.
Millions of kids
let me
not
explain.
going to bed hungry is
let
a
me
tiny
explain.
bit,
Let me explain
really?
the context of healthcare. They say we're for universal healthcare. You go, okay, great, let's do Medicare for all. Oh no, wait too long. Okay, no problem. Can we do public option? This debate goes all the way back to the Affordable Care Act. They go, oh yeah, sure, we love the public option. Oh golly, gee, we had to take the public option out. There was nothing we could do. Okay, Obama says he had to take it out because the drug companies were opposed to it. First of all, you're admitting that you're giving into the donor class. Then Joe Biden comes in and goes, how can we do public option?
We have
Over 70%.
We have 50-50 split Senate with guys like Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema.
You know how you do it, brother? You know how you do it by trying.
They tried. They try every day.
No, but literally,
you're not on the inside.
No,
you don't know.
You're stating a misstatement. Okay, so Joe Biden never introduced the public option. If you never introduced the public option, by definition, you did not try. Second of all, how do you pass? Oh, the Senate is split. Okay, you put pressure on. So can pressure work politically? Well, we know because Donald Trump did it to Republicans. Now he did it for his own cause and for his own self-aggrandizement. But anytime a Republican crossed him in the first term, he said we're going to eliminate Joe Wilson in South Carolina, and boom, he was eliminated. Now imagine if you did that.
You want to bully our senators?
Yes, I do. Absolutely.
You want to threaten their lives?
Yes, bully them. I've been hearing, by the way, I can hear them. I think this guy on the right actually brings forth a very good argument. It is very tit for tat-ish. It's kind of the whole thing I kind of picked up on him. I mean, they do kind of do like a little bit, and then they do a little bit, and then it kind of fails or it doesn't work. Or it's kind of like this nudge game. And it's like, okay, this is why they've won so many times more. It's because like, okay, we've given you guys the opportunity for this nudge game, but when are we going to get the big stuff? Like Trump's coming in, he's passing these bills. He's passing these bills like no one's business. Let's be honest. Trump comes in and he's getting these bills done like that. Like they couldn't even get student loans. I don't know. I mean, maybe Trump couldn't get student loans, but they got the whole house, no? So what the fuck?
What do you want to do to them?
So can I explain?
They represent their people.
No.
But the thing is, that's going to cost so much, though. So it's like the only time they would have to sacrifice for that is if you're not taking a war with Iran, even though it was kind of just like a spanking, right? Iran got their little spanking on their wrist, right? You can't let them get at uranium, bro. The enrichment of uranium, it's too lucrative. It's too powerful. And their interest it's not our best. You get what I mean? Like, it's not even that like, oh, because they're so-and-so that, oh, we should just attack them, as if like it's like a racist ploy or like you're just attack. But no, that's a complete offense. That's an offense, right? You're at a bar with your homie. You're with your boy Israel. Israel gets into a fight with your boy Iran. Israel probably shouldn't have got his ass in the fight. Let's be honest. Should have kept his ass at home. Should have stopped. Should have not been drinking. But shit, you're at a bar. I mean, what the fuck? And Israel came up and smacked that nigga because that nigga was talking shit from a distance. Now he did hit him first, but nigga, now y'all about to brawl. Or at least there's a chance that y'all about to brawl. You're not included, but there's a chance you're gonna have to get your ass in there. And shit, Israel a little ass nigga, Iran a little ass nigga. You gonna have to woo and smack that jit. You have to smack the jit. Right? So it's like a 25-year-old big ass nigga versus a 16-year-old ass peewee jit. You gonna have to smack him. You have to smack him up. It ain't nothing to it. Because let's say hypothetically the peewee ass jit, and this is just a stupid ass like thing. Peewee ass jit had a blick. You weren't expecting it, but he's 16-year-old and then got a blick. You had to blick him down first. Shoot him in the foot. So I think it is a good offensive play. But then obviously that's cost savings account just in case Iran tries to come at us with more, right? And then there's more and more and more and more. So
Manchin represents his people. They sent him there. How do you know that? You're not from West Virginia.
Okay, hold on. They represent their donors.
BS. It's an excuse.
Oh yeah,
it's an excuse.
The donors
it's
are non-existent.
It's a
non-existent.
More
millions of dollars given to Joe Manchin.
More people donated to Kamala than outside groups in this election cycle. It's a boogeyman, and you're wasting people's time with this.
Nonsense. You know that Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, after they voted against minimum wage increase, went to the National Restaurant Association and collected checks. They literally work for their donors. It is super literal. And what you're saying to people is ignore it. Ignore the donors. Ignore them. It's disrespectful to Joe Manchin, and I intend to disrespect Joe Manchin. I despise Joe Manchin. I despise those corporate Democrats who never ever deliver.
See, I like Unk's passion though. Unk's got that passion. He's got that fire still.
For you,
You're not
who never
West
even tried to
Virginia.
deliver for you. You
We're
know, here's
lucky
what
to
you
have Joe
say.
Manchin.
Here's what you say. Hey.
So your claim is that Democrats don't want to pass.
I don't like that the other guy didn't bring I liked his counter arguments. I didn't like that he didn't assert anything though afterwards. Like he did bring forth good counters, but that was it. He'd be like, "Oh, you're just doing this just to say this, or you're just doing this." He never really like said anything like damning enough.
Pass their
But he did have good points.
agenda. You've talked about $15 an hour minimum wage. So how can you explain then that Joe Biden did in fact increase to $15 an hour for federal
He got a nice nose.
contractors, with an increase again this year to $17.75?
Yeah. So again, it's a release valve.
Bridge.
So why?
is
Hold
that a
on.
release
Yes, because it affects a tiny minimum. And I please question them when they say, "Oh, I'm not going to do it for everyone."
You just said that all Democrats want to raise
That's why if you
that Joe
Sorry.
Biden did in
Hey.
So your claim is that Democrats don't want to pass their agenda. You've talked about $15 an hour minimum wage. So how can you explain then that Joe Biden did in fact increase to $15 an hour for federal contractors, with an increase again this year to $17.75?
Yeah. So again, it's a release valve. So why?
How is that a
Hold
release
on. Yes, because it affects a tiny percentage
It
of
affects
Americans.
300,000
So
people.
300,000 out of 330 million people. So that's why if you actually did a minimum
Yeah, minimum wage increase. It's just stupid. What you need is technology's gone too far. AI is coming, and so is quantum computing. We need to stop lying to people. Okay, your math degree is going to be rendered useless once quantum computers are in people's hands on a day-to-day basis. Okay, let's be honest. Now, there's going to be people who need to code those things, but on average, the people who are going to outsource them in the jobs of corporate, which is the real big conglomerates, you're not going to really need a human to do it, right? Some robot's going to do it faster, quicker, longer, and it doesn't feel anything. The problem is we aren't moving people towards the new age of creation, which the new age of creation is individualistic art. There's nothing that a computer can do that a computer can never make an album that I can make. There was this quote. It was a great quote. Who was it? I think it was Neil. I want to see if I can find this. This was a quote by Neil. Here it is. I think this is it.
That, yeah, when you study the universe or any frontier where no one has stepped before, there's a certain thrill.
I'm
Here it is.
assuming without the music, the facts and figure and the knowledge sometimes that you get, either new information or something that you're studying,
This is
gives
a
you
good-
that
this is a good
same kind
moment.
of emotion in dealing with these big ideas.
So let me agree and disagree. So the part where I agree is that, yeah, when you study the universe or any frontier where no one has stepped before, there's a certain thrill and exhilaration, an uplifting mood that I was going to say was indescribable, but I'm going to try to describe it. It's as though you laid eyes upon something that no one has seen before, and now it's your task to communicate this fact. The beauty, the splendor, the majesty, the wonder, all of this combined. That is what goes on the frontier of scientific discovery. I think it also goes on the frontier of artistic expression. But here's the difference. I can discover something in the universe, but if I didn't do it, somebody else after me will discover that exact same thing. Whereas in the arts, what you create, no one who was ever born before you or will be born from your death onwards will ever compose exactly the same thing you did. So in that sense, art is a unique expression of the individual, whereas the science is the discovery of the pre-existing conditions of nature.
Perfect way to describe exactly what I wanted to get across. The real value is not going to come from individuals because art is going to be irreparable. You're not going to be able to create. You know how they say like AI could never? AI could never. There's things that AI would never be able to do that a human can do, right? AI can't, the rose won't spit in it. The rose won't spit in it like I can. So that's where we're moving. We're moving towards the age of real art from individuals, or at least creation from individuals, right? Everything's art, you can argue that, but this surface level creation is going to be whether or not you have your own business, whether you have your own image, whether you have your own money, whether you have your own anything, right? Because how else are you going to make money? How else are you going to survive if AI can just do everything that you can do? You know what I mean? Like if it can do most jobs, then what are we going to do? You have no choice but to fall susceptible. And I think that's where we're headed. And I say that because, okay, so wage increase. Over a certain amount of time, a wage is not going to really matter as much as an investment in, some some crypto course or some fucking drop shipping course. I don't know, some new age course, whether that be stocks, Bitcoin, or, you know, people are going to start outsourcing expendable cash where you're not even going to need to work. So are these corporations going to need people? I mean, they're going to start moving. Like, there's going to be a huge transfer. And if you aren't on that edge of AI, Bitcoin, crypto knowledge, like you're kind of left behind. And so, I mean, what is a wage, right? Because most people don't make minimum wage, so it's not going to be applicable to them, right? And if you are, companies will easily, this is right, like 300,000 people, they're going to disaffect it. So what they're going to do is they're going to make it so, yeah, you make 15 an hour, but they're going to cut your hours. So they're just going to exploit it. So it doesn't even matter. That the wage argument is not great. It's the sufficiency in education, right? So a lot of people go to like finance school. Like, I'm pretty sure Donald Trump went to like finance school. And you don't even school, nigga, I didn't know about stocks till after school. I knew a little bit about stocks, but they don't even tell you about stocks in school. They don't even let you know about Bitcoin in school. There's things in the Department of Education where they're not letting you know real things that you're going to do after school while you're in school. So you're kind of sitting here like lost beyond doing the slave programming of school work, school education. You know what I mean? So it's a flawed system, and it's on the basis of not creating the best people. Like, these arguments are kind of rendered useless because they're not trying to make the best people. They're trying to make the most money for themselves and outsource their freedom.
Federal minimum wage, moved it to $15. That would move $92 billion from corporations to the average American. Okay, so that's what we want. I assume you want it. I want it. All Democrats want it. It polls at around 67%. So what I'm saying to all of you guys is, please expect better of your politicians. So when they give you a 3%, oh, hey, look, I did it for 300,000 people. Hey, look, the drug prices, I lowered it on 10 drugs out of 10,000 drugs. Don't say that's good enough.
But
They're
Cenk,
shielding. That's a shield so that you don't question them when they say, oh, I'm not going to do it for everyone.
You just said that all Democrats want to raise it to $15 an hour. That has not been your claim this entire time.
No, voters.
Voters,
yeah.
Right. But Democratic politicians do too. If Joe Biden didn't want to do it, why did he increase it?
But
for federal contractors, he didn't have the votes to pass it.
That's exactly what I'm telling you. So what he does is he does it for 5% of people with student debt relief. He did it for 10% of people. He didn't do it for 90%. So in the case of the federal minimum wage, let me bring it back to you. Federal minimum wage. So he says, oh, progressives, don't worry. It's bare minimum. We're definitely going to do it. So they pass it in the House. They bring it to the Senate. Joe Biden does an interview during the Super Bowl right after he's elected, and he says, oh, we're taking $15 minimum wage out of the bill. The Republicans didn't take it out of the bill. Joe Biden took it out of the bill.
Trump did get rid of it on executive order.
Okay,
so now they don't have it at all.
Right.
So you're saying then you're saying that Democrats and Republicans are both equal in terms of economics, right? How is that equal in terms of economics when Joe Biden raised it and then Trump took it away by executive order?
So, but wait a minute. But you're saying that even though he took it out, and then when Bernie put it back in, 8 Democratic senators, including the 2 Delaware senators that are the closest allies of Biden, voted against federal minimum wage being increased to $15. So can you not see that they're literally voting against it? They're literally taking it out of the bill. They're literally tricking you. They don't actually want to pass it. They get your vote by saying, oh, I'm going to do it. And then the minute they get in office, they're like, I was just kidding. Take it out of the bill.
What evidence do you have that Joe Biden actually did want those senators to vote against it? What evidence?
2 pieces of evidence. Number one, it passed in the House. And I even talked to Democratic congressmen. They assured me, don't worry, it's going to pass in the Senate. It goes to the Senate and it's out of the bill. Schumer made that decision in conjunction with Joe Biden. So why did Schumer and Biden take it out of the bill? That's my evidence.
So Cenk, is your claim then
that And then secondly, by the way, when they did vote on it, his 2 biggest allies, both the Delaware senators, voted against the $15 minimum wage. That's overwhelming evidence. Do you think that they didn't ask Joe Biden? No, they called Joe Biden and Joe Biden said vote against it because he was lying.
It's just not true. But also,
that is literally true, and anybody can look it up.
Are you claiming then that all Democrats that take corporate money are against the people? Is that your claim?
Absolutely,
okay,
yes.
So then why did TYT take $20 million of corporate money?
Here we go again with personal
attacks.
Okay, no problem.
No
problem.
Nah, that's crazy. They hit him with another gotcha. Why do they keep doing that, bro? They're weird.
No problem. Okay, yeah. So $20 million is an investment. Okay. It is not here, take the money and then you do what we tell you to do. Everyone has, if you're building a business.
Funny, like they get them to a certain point and then they're like, oh, and so what about you?
You have to take investment to get to the next level.
Cenk,
hold on, if you don't take the investment, you're going to be tiny. So what some leftists say is, no, don't ever build anything. Don't ever take an investment. Don't ever do anything and build a big business. So instead, let the right wing take not only investment money, but direct money like Dennis Prager did, $23 million, and take it from the fracking billionaires, all those guys, and serve those guys. Let the right wing grow and grow and grow. But as soon as there's a successful left wing channel, don't take an investment, don't take any money, just be super small so we can't compete with the right wing.
Cenk,
how does that make sense?
I'm pro you taking that investment. I've built a business. I understand that. I just think that it's ironic for you then to sit up here and say that everybody that takes corporate money is against the people because you would be against
that doesn't make that's apples and oranges.
Why is it apples and oranges?
I can explain perfectly. So should corporations be allowed to exist? Absolutely. Okay. Should corporations be allowed to give money to our politicians so they control our government? Absolutely not. No way. So when a corporation does an investment, that's a perfectly logical and normal thing to do. When a corporation
That's what I'm on. That's the problem to me. Everything else is whatever the fuck. For me, it's like, why the fuck can a nigga just pay $50 million for Donald Trump to be on the fucking billboard across the world, and I have to sit here and cast my one single vote as if I'm going to really do something against the big fascist regime of Walmart's big ass lobbyist APAC government conglomeration. I'm fucked. I have no chance. The only way I have a chance is becoming a terrorist. I'm kidding. But the only way I have a chance is really like being proactive and like forcing my agenda onto a bigger audience and trying to convert those people to actual beliefs that make sense and try to make them do their due diligence as possible. But also, like Elon said, or what Elon attempted to do, is make its own make his own party, make a new party. Because whoever in control of the other party, whoever's the leader of the party, they clearly aren't doing their best job. Or they are out of the interest of people. They're just more in the interest of donors, money, like corporations. It's just annoying.
Buys a politician and those politicians then vote with them. That is a terrible thing to do. I'm a capitalist. I believe in capitalism, but I believe in democratic capitalism where democracy checks capitalism. Otherwise it becomes corporatism and becomes a monster. But I don't want to defeat all the companies, and I certainly don't want to defeat left-wing media companies. That makes no sense at all. You see how it's apples and oranges? One is a company and the other one's a politician.
Okay.
One is normal business, the other one is to influence our government.
Let's talk about...
Hey, before we go any further, we want to take a moment to say thanks so much to Straight Arrow News for powering the fact checks in this video. Straight Arrow News is on a mission to raise the bar on journalism in a time of media bias and mistrust. Straight Arrow News helps you quickly find trusted information you need. Link, you're not just supporting this channel. You also take advantage of a better way to get the news. Welcome back to Trustworthy Journalism. Thanks again to Straight Arrow News for partnering with us on this episode. Now, let's get into it.
My next claim is the Republicans only care about the rich and everything else is a mirage.
You know what's hilarious? I literally just looked up who's richer. That's what I was typing in. I looked up who's richer. It says among the on the very wealthiest Americans, top 1%, conservatives are slightly richer and more likely to be Republican leaning. What are the odds of me looking that up at that time? So conservatives, particularly in the top wealth tiers, tend to be wealthier on it. This confirms my conservative. This confirms my whole theory. They're using the Democratic side for the minority and using all the minute details. They exploit the Carmelo Anthony hoax with all the trauma in media, etc. They exploit the tranny, the Lily Tantino trans movement, etc. They exploit the pregnant movement, right? Amy Schumer in a fucking movie. They exploit the immigrants with all the crazy riots downtown in LA, right? And then they make out with bank when they move in all these different types of bills, etc. on the conservative side. It's a full finesse multi-level marketing scheme, and I just cracked the code insta. Where's my pay, right? Like I should just be where's my pay right there? I should be getting paid for that. Crust, man.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So personally, I don't like absolutes, so I try to stay away from them. When you say the Republicans, are you talking about the party establishment? Are you talking about the politicians? Are you talking about the citizens?
Okay, I'm so glad you asked that.
Why does he have one gray hair? He's got one little gray speck. Like Elsa just kissed him on the forehead.
Hey,
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So personally, I don't like absolutes, so I try to stay away from them. When you say the Republicans,
it's like one little speck there. You may as well dye that. You may as well dye it. Well, why not just dye it? I don't know. I guess embrace the grays. That's just weird. I thought normally like it goes from like all the grays, like kind of how Unks is, where like it kind of goes all together and then it becomes gray. That's kind of weird.
Are you talking about
maybe the pigment died there or some shit, or like hair died there or something?
The party establishment? Are you talking about the politicians? Are you talking about the citizens?
Okay, I'm so glad you asked that. I always mean the politicians. Okay, so for all of these, don't take offense if you're a Democrat or a Republican voter. I'm talking about the politicians.
I'm either one. But so do you think that the Republicans care more about the rich than the Democrats? Do you think the Democratic establishment really doesn't just care about the rich?
So as I said, I think that both parties are similar on economic issues, and they play good cop, bad cop on us. Do the Republicans push the tax cuts? Yes. Is it almost always under Republican administrations? Yes. Do they ever balance the budget? No, never.
So do you think that like the idea that employers who have a lot of money, that they provide jobs and that's a way to give back to the poor? Do you buy into any of that concept at all?
No.
I mean, as like entrepreneurs who are going out to innovate. I'm a classroom teacher, so like I go out trying to build entrepreneurs who can employ people and do something like that. Isn't that something that entrepreneurial spirit can be more aligned with the conservatives, would you say?
No, I don't agree. I'm an entrepreneur. I run a small business. And so they are always talking about small businesses. And then they immediately change the goalpost to cuts on capital gains. Wait, that has nothing to do with small business. Cuts on estate tax. That's for the super rich. That has nothing to do with small businesses. So brother, they use small business as like a marketing tool. Oh, we're for the average American. We're for small business. Then the actual tax cuts are for the mega rich and for the mega corporations.
What about minimum wage? Like as a business owner, you know like the repercussions of minimum wage. I've been doing McDonald's in a while. I went. It's been years. I went, and it's just like it's just a screen. You know, like there is that element, you know, of the minimum wage raising and that leading to more unemployment.
Yeah. So I don't agree with that either. Okay. So first of all, everything it requires bounds. So you can't have $100 minimum wage. I get that, right? But having said that, are we anywhere near where we should be on minimum wage? No. We're at $7.25 federally on minimum wage. That is a disaster. And so what that is if you work every single day, 40 hours a week, 52 weeks, no vacation at all, you only make $15,000 at $7.25. No one can live on $15,000. So when you push up minimum wage, what it does is it pushes up all wages, and that is a good thing, not a bad thing. They always tell you
can't even have a kid on that. Because a kid is stocked $20,000 a year. A kid is $20,000 a year on average. And you can't even, but what I'm on is, if someone can charge you minimum wage, $7 an hour, right? I don't even think it matters to increase the wage because they're gonna move, they're gonna off the lot move the goalpost. They're going to cut your hours. They're only going to play a little bit extra. They're going to cut your hours though. So I guess it's like at least they get more money on average, but they're definitely cutting hours. They're just going to do it. It needs to be a bigger problem being addressed, and it's that people are not being educated properly on finance and how to make money, especially in the new age. We're moving to crypto right now. Everything else is kind of old biz, right? Like, you know, do you guys realize, like, you can go on GMGN and you can see literally people making 4 million a week off of trading crypto. Cupsy just last week made $1 million. He made $4 million in a week trading crypto. So if this kid can, he's a Fortnite kid, ex-Fortnite kid we used to play. But if this kid can trade his way to $4 million in a week trading a crypto meme coins, right? What is it to say, oh, this McDonald's worker should be working at McDonald's or in anything of that capacity? Like, I don't get it. That just doesn't make sense to me. Like, they should be teaching people about the new form of currency, crypto, stocks, investments, IRA Roths, more ignition, because now people are just sitting here like thinking that in some way a job or career in some field is gonna last, and in a few years it's gonna be taken, and then also just they're not even gonna get paid that much. So I don't know what it is. I don't know what they're gonna do.
No, give it to the corporations and then it'll trickle all over you decades later. No, there's an economics called middle out. And what that does is it gives directly to the middle class, and then they spend it more and it creates a better economy.
I think the best case is like a UBI, something like that, but UBI that is incentivized. So Americans that meet a particular health criteria, right? And that's what they get paid to be fit and healthy. Could you imagine? You get paid to be healthy. You get paid to be fit. You have to go on walks. And then what we could try to do is figure out a way to harness the kinetic energy of individuals walking. So like, let's say we got the sidewalk and it has some kinetic energy harvesting machine where when humans walk on it, right? They, even like with the roads as well. Cause I think the roads, like it should be a thing where like you could like, could you imagine if you could like attach a device to your car that would go on a particular road that has like a kinetic harvesting thing, and the more you drive, the more you get paid, or like the more you walk, you get paid. And then like with the health thing is you have a card and you weigh yourself. The doctor does like certain things like blood, cholesterol, sugar levels, etc. Some people aren't just not going to be able to qualify for that, but like their height and weight, if they meet the criteria, they get incentivized. You know, $50. You know, if you meet the criteria, you get $50. Why not? And then on average, like if they improve in terms of weight density, so let's say, oh, they gain this amount of muscle, they get an extra 50 or something. I don't know. Like what could you incentivize people to do? I feel like that's at least a decent way to get started. I don't know about making this a continuum, right? There's just the way of wages. It's not just going to be like, it's just not going to make, I think UBI is probably your best case, or quarterly release tax cuts. Not tax cuts. No. Quarterly release capital. So like every 4 months, actually it would have to be 3 months. Every 3 months you get $500. Every 3 months you get $500 or something. I don't know. 1,000. Every 3 months, 1,000 or 500. I don't know. But UBI is extreme. It's a lot of money, right? And obviously you have to qualify. So like kids may not be qualified, or certain age limits or disability or something like that, right? But even let's say half the country gets that, right? So how much money would it be? How much money would it be if half the country was given UBI for $500 every 3 months? That's not going to be great. Oh my gosh. 335 billion. That's insane. That's insane. 335 billion. Holy shit balls. Okay, now let's say annually. Okay, so annually it would be 83.75 billion, which is, that's still a lot. That's a lot of fucking money. But it's better. It's better at least. I just don't think you're going to fix the problem by increasing wage, right? Wages is just, it's not enough. People's time is money. Their time's going to be replaced. It's just not enough.
Especially for small businesses like yours and mine, et cetera. So there's a way to do this. It gives to the average guy first, but the Republicans never do that. They always push for tax cuts for the richest people in the country.
So why do you believe that the populist element of Trump, where a lot of the working class, they're like, I know he's a Yankee with gold toilets, but I'm going to vote for him because he's not like vilifying me. Do you think that they're just being manipulated by Trump?
Yeah, 100%. So look, I don't want people manipulated. That's why I do things like this. I don't want you getting manipulated by the politicians on either side. In a time where we have massive deficits and a $38 trillion debt, why are we giving another $1.1 trillion to people making over $500,000? It doesn't make sense.
I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, brother.
I'm Elijah.
Hey, Elijah. Nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too. Do Republicans care about the rich? I do think they care about the rich. Coming from somebody that voted for Trump, I do believe that. But I do think that they do support middle-class Americans, especially Trump. I think this big, beautiful bill, people say it's hurting Americans. If you actually read through it, I'm getting a 3% reduction on my yearly income tax. Every single tax bracket is getting some type of reduction on their income tax or a 0% reduction. And that's for the wealthiest class. So that is helping middle class. Also, I know that the deficit's going up. Think about ICE. He's putting more money into ICE. I would argue that stopping immigration actually, or enforcing it even more heavily, helps the middle class worker in America. There's less jobs that are being taken. When you import a bunch of people, like your housing costs are going to go up. It's inflating the people that need houses in the city, or apartments or whatever. It is taking jobs for middle class to lower class people like me. It's taking jobs.
Unfortunately, some of your premises are wrong. So when you take the whole bill, including the cuts of Medicaid and SNAP and other cuts,
is that not like too like confirmation bias or what? Like he's just talking about himself.
The bottom 30% actually wind up paying more than they did before.
I mean,
so they're literally taking from the bottom 30% and giving it to the top 10%.
I mean, when you talk about SNAP, that's people that are already taking from all of us. So
okay, see, that's your point of view as a Republican. Do you know the least popular part of the bill? The poll just came out. Only 24%, maybe even lower, support cutting SNAP. It is the single most unpopular part of the bill. Overall, Americans do not want you to take from people who desperately need food just to give to people making above $500,000. The second most unpopular part of the bill is the one that gives to people above $500,000. So people don't want that. So the bottom 30% are very badly hurt by this bill. What you're talking about is the middle, the percentile, the middle 10% gets a 0.4% bump. That's again the nickels and dimes that they throw you.
But that's not in the
Republicans
bill.
Republicans throw nickels and dimes at you, 5 to 10% change in their tax cuts, and the Democrats through their policies throw 5 to 10% change.
If you don't think that a nickel and dime can help somebody in a dire situation,
but brother, why do we have to?
A nickel? Are we arguing chump change? We're arguing pennies, coins, shillings. What are we doing?
Help the rich even more. Why do they get the biggest tax cuts? You know, you can do a tax cut without one going to the rich. You can say, hey, I'm capping it at $400,000.
When you own the business and you get a tax cut, you have more money to spend on your employees. I understand that's a Reaganomics principle, but it could be. And when you import, and when you're a Democrat, and you import all these people from third world countries, you're paying them under minimum wage because you see them as the help. Well, yeah, that's gonna benefit you. But when Republicans stop this and they force people to, that work, like to be citizens, or they want people to be citizens, they're being forced to at least earn minimum wage.
The reason why we've never fixed the immigration problem is because corporations want cheaper
labor,
and we should fix that, but the Republicans and the Democrats never fix that.
And so our border crossings
the top 0.1% are going to get tens of thousands of dollars in tax breaks. You're not explaining why they need that. They don't need that. Why do you know that oil companies get about $15 to $30 billion in subsidies every year? How come the Republicans never talk about, we're going to cut waste, fraud, and abuse, but you're not going to cut $30 billion to the richest companies?
I don't get the oil thing. I really don't get it, man. Like, I don't get it. I don't get how it could be so obvious that we should be using solar energy and nobody wants to go solar. Nobody wants to go solar. Literally nobody wants to go solar. Like we should I don't want to hear any fucking person talk about any sort of energy. I don't want to hear shit about energy. I don't want to hear shit about greenhouse gases. I don't want to hear shit because everybody knows we should be going solar ASAP. But everyone wants to argue about oil and all this. Like, no.
How come Trump is best friends with Big Pharma and he's not touching drug prices at all? That's a perfect example. He said that as an executive order, knowing that he did the same executive order the first time around and the courts knocked it down. He knows the courts are going to do it. No, it is his fault. Because hold on, let me explain to you. So then what Ro Khanna did, he's a Democrat, he's really smart, he went and got a Republican co-sponsor and said, let's take the executive order and turn it into a bill. Verbatim, Trump's executive order. All of a sudden, Trump and the Republicans not in favor of the bill. Oh, there you go. It was a trick all along. Good. How you doing?
I work in Republican politics. One of the first jobs I took was in a small district, but it was in Lucas County, Ohio, and it was a poor district. And I was representing a Republican. When my candidate would go and we'd be knocking doors together talking about how he wanted to improve their lives, is he an anomaly, or are you only talking about federal?
Yeah. So
where do we draw the line here?
So first of all, are there some good guys in politics? Very rare, but yes, I think Bernie Sanders is a good guy. I think Ro Khanna is a good guy. By the way, I think Thomas Massey is honest, and he's a Republican, right?
Fair.
I don't agree with his policies, but I think he's honest. But there again, it's an exception. So if you tell me, no, trust me, the politician I worked with was great. Were you there when he was talking to the donors?
He didn't have any.
Okay, well, then I do.
Well, that's the problem is when we go down the ladder, where 90% of the elections that take place in this country, they're not at the federal level. They're not with politicians that are receiving hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars.
Yeah, they get bought for cheaper. They get bought for 5,000, 10,000.
Or is it possible that they want to step in and govern?
So, brother, I hear what you're saying. You're saying that the closer you get to the voters, the more honest they are. That's actually true. Look.
Okay.
So,
I appreciate that.
So number one.
So you're saying
hold
some
on, let me
Republicans
explain.
do.
Can I just explain?
Yeah,
so if you're doing a small seat as a city council, you actually knock on doors. That's why progressives win a lot of the city council seats, because the election is with such a small number of people. You don't need can I just let me finish? So that way you don't need as much money. You don't need donors. They're more responsive to their actual voters. The larger you get, once you get to a congressional district with 750,000, the donor money decides how much ads you can take and whether you're going to win or not. So then they become completely beholden to the donors. So when you're talking about, hey, really low level.
That's what I'm on about. I'm not going against some other Democrat when I'm voting. Nigga, I'm going against AIPAC. I'm going against Kellogg, nigga. The CIA. Like it's not I'm not fighting some random other person who opposes my view. So I don't get it. It just don't make sense to me. It comes to an electoral college. It's a scam. It's a scam. It's a scam. You're talking about an electoral college. Nigga, then why the fuck did I vote anyways? They should have just gave it to the fuck. Why the fuck would there be, think about it. Why the fuck would there be electoral college? If you got 16 niggas voting, then why the fuck it ain't just eight of them, they vote? Why do I need to vote? I don't even need to vote at that point. Why do I need to vote? It's going to an electoral college. It's out of my control. It's out of my control. The system is it's a farce. It's not real. They make it seem as it's real. It's not real. Cause it's like this is like that. Look, nigga, it's like, nigga, we here. This me and you, right? I don't like that, D. Pause. And nigga, this the boogeyman. I'm gonna do it green. This the motherfucking boogeyman that we gotta beat. Okay? It's the boogeyman, right? It's the motherfucking boogeyman. Okay? Let me see. Okay. So this the boogeyman, right? We gotta try to beat this nigga. And you got like layers, like it's like a whole lot MLM. So this the boogeyman. This is you and your stupid ass vote. Right? And then you got Trump. You got Trump here. And then you got Kamala over here. That's a small head. Right? Okay. You laughing with a bottle. Hold on. Isn't orange just like darker? Or isn't brown just dark orange? Wait, hold up. All right. So this Trump and Kamala, right? And then you got nigga the corporation. So you got like shit like Walmart, Kellogg's, nigga, Coke, Fruit of Loom, nigga, Palantir, Tesla, Apple, and we're gonna do goddamn the spa. Okay. So you got the corporate, you got you, boom, right? Now, we would like to think that in some cases, the electoral college is above the corporations. We're gonna do EC. The EC is above these corporations. But in reality, they're really not. Because these niggas is paying a fat fucking check to this motherfucker. Cha-ching. So these niggas making like, we talking about 100 M's. $1 billion. No, that's a really bad. $1 billion, right? I don't really know how much, but I'm pretty sure she did have $1 billion. And I don't know how much Trump had. So these is the Omegas, supposedly. But who is these niggas? Who is these niggas? Because they really not that lit anyways. Because we letting them make the decision, really. But ain't shit happening on our end. So we thinking like, we really voting. My vote just goes here and straight to here. But you got these niggas in the back end just lingering about, dropping M's on these niggas. So when we all spite, like, damn, why this shit rigged? It's like, why does it feel like it's rigged? It's because these niggas is cheating. Why does shit feel like it's rigged? They cheating. They been cheating. Hold up. I don't know how to get her skin tone. How do I get her skin tone? know it go by like oranges, kind of. You're gonna go like that. All right, there's Kamala. And so you really thinking like, damn, this nigga Elon, or I'm just saying like your average MAGA, your average MAGA's niggas like, grab that bill. Elon really cares for me. And stick it in, Elon, stick it in. But he doesn't, or at least maybe not as much as you think he does. Maybe sort of, maybe a little bit. But it's not just Elon. I'm talking about billionaire moguls. Okay? People have their own self-interest who own the companies. But the thing is, this nigga's not even this nigga's Glaze is not even the most powerful nigga, right? You thinking you fighting this, that, this, and third. But then you got another list of people you gotta fight. But this one's more so obfuscated because it's psychological. This CIA and the Mossad. So now you thinking your vote just gonna go straight here. But you got this nigga to fight. You got this nigga to fight. You even to some degree gotta fight this nigga. You got this person to fight. You got these niggas to fight. You gotta hope that they choose the right people, so you basically in cahoots with them. And the end all so be all is get this shit all staged, and you really gotta fight the boogeyman, nigga. The all-seeing eye, the world monarch, the Rothschild. You gotta fight these niggas. This who you gotta fight. So a corporate interest is like, who am I voting for? Who is this nigga's puppet controller? So it's all this shit you gotta fight. Nigga, you fighting $1 billion. Look, you fighting $1 billion. 100 M's. This nigga got control. Nigga, you fighting the Central Intelligence Agency, nigga. These niggas is smart as shit. Astral projection, crazy tech, all types of shit. That's who you gotta fight to even get in the know of the cause. You thinking you just voting. Piece of paper matter. It don't even matter. And this shit is happening every single time. And this is not all of it, but this is not all of it. This is just some of it. This is like very minuscule amounts of detail. This is just a wiggle dick version. Then you got to think about people, your nearest people. You got to fight friends and family. So you got to fight the person who's on this person's side, a bot. So now you like, well, what the fuck? What am I supposed to do? Do I even partake? When you really crack the code, you really doing this. Why the fuck would I participate in that? And they doing all that. And you got all that. Wait a minute. King, I just dropped my crown. The king just dropped his crown. Wait a minute. They be look. Shit. I may as well just call it quits. This is who I'm fighting, nigga. The world monarch, nigga. The Illuminati, nigga. The CIA, the Mossad, nigga. Fucking corporations. $100 billion corporations. The Electoral College, nigga. Kamala Harris, $1 billion donuts. I may as well. Nah, man. Nah. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm already set up for failure. Plus, you got to clock in at work. Plus, you got to go to school, college, whatever you're doing. You ain't even got time to be focused on and knowing and being in the know. So you got people that don't even know about this, and they just going to cast a vote just off of the strength of just going. So this system, this is why I'm like, bro, why would I even vote? Why the fuck would I even vote? And this is shit we gotta, I mean, what the fuck? So that's my shitty little drawing or whatever. I'm gonna say this one. I like this one. Lol. Already got one. Let me do this. Why I ain't even. Wait, did it save?
Republicans that yet have not gotten a lot of donor cash, and you say, well, like, hey, don't worry, they'll stay true, but they never do. When they move up to the next level, they immediately, even if they were true at the lower level,
not true.
99% of them, other than Massey, they take the donor money and they do exactly what the donors tell them to do.
It's just a simple misunderstanding or an oversimplification of our system. And
all right, thank you. Hey, good to meet you, brother.
All right, so I'm glad you clarified already. You're talking about Republican politicians. And you brought up donor money, and I know that's a big issue with you. But I think that's just not really how it works. I think you have a lot of politicians that start off, as you said, kind of in those lower levels. They do an office here, they do a job here, and then they slowly rise up. And if you can track their views, you see that their views don't actually really change a whole lot over time. When the donor money comes in, it's not like they suddenly change their views and they're a completely new person. They've had the views that they've had for a very, very long time. So how can you sit here, Cenk, and look in your crystal ball and say, oh, I know I can look into the souls of Republicans Republicans and say, oh, well, they're not actually genuine in some of these proposals.
Yeah. So let's take an example of a person who doesn't have a soul, Ted Cruz.
You know that? You know that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm kidding. Okay, I think. Okay. So listen, he says to Tucker Carlson recently, yes, I've taken millions from AIPAC, but I just happen to have that position. I had it earlier. I mean, I know that AIPAC would give me millions of dollars if I say, let's give billions back from the American taxpayer to AIPAC. Let's make sure we support all their wars. Let's fight all their wars for them. Oh, look at that. I happen to agree with my donors. Hey, listen, when I started out, I really wanted to give $30 billion of subsidies to oil companies, and I still want to give $30 billion.
How do you know Ted Cruz lying? How do you know that?
Okay, but even in that scenario, think about it, brother.
No.
There's a country, hold on,
I'm
answering your question.
Okay.
You're saying, okay, so in the hypothetical where we have, first of all, in the real world, there's 330 million people in the country, right? So you're saying maybe like the oil subsidy loving guys, or we're all Republicans to begin with, and the Republicans all love oil subsidies, so it's just organic. No, brother, they're finding just a handful of people in the country that'll raise their hand and go, yes, I will do whatever corporate donors want, I will do whatever the rich want, and they go, there's a guy who agrees with me. Let's give him money. Let's give him 5,000 in the beginning, then 50,000 later, then 500,000
So you
later.
didn't actually answer my question, Cenk.
What is the question?
So how do you know that Ted Cruz is being disingenuous about his views on Israel? You still haven't answered the question.
That's the easiest question in the world.
If it's so easy, then answer it for me.
Okay, so you're saying my hypothesis is Ted Cruz and the politicians take millions of dollars from donors and do exactly as they're ordered. And how do I know that? Because their voting record matches with their donors perfectly. You're saying, but maybe there's a hypothetical 1 to 2% chance that Ted Cruz just was born out of the womb loving Israel's wars. And he's like, I can't wait to give money to Israel. Whereas, look at that, what a coincidence. AIPAC is giving me millions of dollars.
I actually in politics try to assume good intentions on both sides. Well, sure, you can say that's a mistake, but I also try to make claims with
try to assume good intentions on both sides? You can pay me to be that dumb. No, I'm not finna. I don't trust. I don't trust them. I don't got no faith in them. They lie all the time. They lie like, nigga, Trump lied 30,000 times, they said. They say he lied 30,000 times. They be misleading. It's just hard to have belief in them. Now, maybe they have some good faith, but it can't be all. Because if that was the case, we wouldn't be in this predicament. Just off the jump of knowing that, you should already be like, nigga, if they want to solve the nigga, look, my room got my light on. I know exactly what I need to do to fix my room light being on. Turn that bitch off. So a lot of the answers really is simple, but it's whether or not they want to pass the bill. So they make all this other extra complex shit that don't even matter. You make all that other extra complex shit as if you're really making some stupendous change when they're not even doing shit. They're not even doing shit. And I'm about to speed this video up because it's taking a while. Come on, man.
Evidence, and all you've said is, he gets all this money from AIPAC, therefore he's corrupt. So as opposed to, how do you know that Ted Cruz did not have these views before, and that AIPAC wanted to support him because of the views he already has?
So your thesis is
Ted Cruz is not a real human who changes his opinion every 2 seconds. He flip-flops every 2 seconds. Everybody knows it. He's a sycophant. He's Starscream.
That all the Republicans that take hundreds of millions of dollars from donors, they do exactly what the donors say, but they already believe in all of the things that the donors wanted earlier. So it's just a happy coincidence.
It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense in my mind that these organizations would only be giving money to people that they know support the cause.
That's not a crazy, wild thing to
think. No, what evidence do you have?
So you're saying I don't have evidence of Ted? I can't read Ted Cruz's mind.
Yes, you can.
So brother, by your thesis, you can't read Joe Biden's mind. You can't read Kamala Harris's mind. So they're all innocent. They're all angels. Oh my God, their money isn't affecting any of them.
Exactly. Why is he playing ignorant? Why is he playing so like, oh, they're all so great. I have no problem with anyone. Oh, like what? Of course there's problems going on. Of course they're lying. Of course they have an ulterior motive. You're dealing with billion-dollar corporations. I don't even need to know that these niggas do not. If it's too good to be true, I don't even need to know that to know. I don't even need to know that there is like, how do I like? Okay, I just spawned into life. Right? I love the story of life. I want to know everything. And as you go through life, you notice that like even just the little lessons in school they teach you. Don't put your hand in the cookie jar. Or the boogeyman is going to get you. There's always this lingering facade, fake thing lingering in the background. The boogeyman, right? So the smoke and mirrors is like, you should already be in the back of your mind, like just off the strength, no trust, especially in something this significant. Like, nigga, I barely even trust going in my room at night when it was dark, let alone Sleepy Joe. The nigga sleep. He sleep. How I'ma trust a nigga that ain't awake? He can't even be awake to tell me what's the problem. He can't even tell me what's the problem. He's sleeping. So, I can't do it. I can't do it. So it's like, they lied about this nigga being coherent. He knocked out. He knocked out. So he basically in a coma. and they got this shit running on the auto pen. So how the fuck am I supposed to trust that? How can I trust that? I can't trust that. I can't trust that you lied to me telling my president was, oh, he's got great competence. He's here for sure. And the nigga is sleeping. So I can't do it. I can't do it. I don't know. I can't do it. But this nigga, he acting like, I mean, what the fuck? He acting like he don't know. Why is he playing disingenuous ignorant? He's supposed to be combating this problem.
I can read their voting record. I can read their donations. Nobody secrets tells you. You sound exactly like mainstream media. These politicians are honorable.
You're operating
and they
based
just
off
happen to agree
feelings
with the donors that gave him hundreds of millions of dollars.
He sounded just like, oh, what? Joe Biden doesn't have my best interest? No. Ted Cruz doesn't give a fuck about me? What? Oh, way. No way.
All right. So you are claiming that Republicans only care about the rich. When Donald Trump and both Elon Musk lost money while they were in office. And then on top of it, you can shake your head no.
According to Forbes billionaire tracker, both Donald Trump and Elon Musk's net worths have increased substantially this year. Trump increased to from 2.3 2024 to 5.1, while Musk went from 195 billion to 342 billion. 342.
On top of it, why would you say that when currently we have, I know you keep saying it's some pressure valve, but we have them actually fighting for working class people by giving them less taxes on tips, less taxes on overtime?
Yeah. So first of all, Donald Trump has made a tremendous amount of money, and his family has. So right after he left office the first time, his son-in-law got a $2
Yeah, he rug pulled the entire United States. He rug pulled everyone.
billion deal from the Saudis, and he was in charge of our policy.
Jared Kushner's private equity firm received a $2 billion investment from Saudi Arabia just 6 months after the first Trump administration ended. While in office, Kushner worked closely with Saudi Arabia and Middle East policy in general.
For Saudi Arabia and the Middle East. That's a disaster. That's Hunter Biden on steroids. So in this time around, he has a meme coin. He's got World Liberty Financial. People are pouring money in. One guy put in $75 million.
President Trump has made more than $1 billion on crypto since taking office, according to Forbes. Yeah. The SEC stopped its civil fraud investigation into China crypto investor Justin Sun after he put $75 million into Trump's backed crypto coins. He's made more than $1 billion on crypto.
And then look at that. He stopped an investigation from the SEC about that guy.
Let's talk about how he's helping
let
middle
go
class
now
people.
at least three white-collar criminals who donated either to his campaign or to his meme coin. And then he got a $400 million jet from Qatar.
Let's talk about how he's helping middle class people.
Okay.
So what if Democrats...
So you're ignoring all the money from that. And I'm answering your question. Elon Musk, by the way, lost hundreds of billions of dollars from
Golden Dome. And his Tesla
Dome.
stock went down dramatically.
Well, that's his fault.
He lost money is what you're saying.
No. But remember, why did Musk and Trump get into a fight? Because Trump did not put in the electric vehicle mandate and the subsidy that Elon wanted.
Sure.
Elon said,
Elon lost money.
So Elon gave $300 million, and he's like, now I want that subsidy. That's going to get me billions back. Now I want Golden Dome. That's
Elon
going to get me
donated $277 billion to Donald Trump and other Republican candidates in 2024. His company SpaceX was a top contender for Golden Dome missile defense contract. But reports indicate the Trump administration is looking for an alternative since the two had a falling out.
hundreds of billions of dollars back. And Trump said, I'm going to give you Golden Dome, but I'm not going to give
an alternative space company.
What have Democrats done to help the middle class with taxes?
That was a really smart marketing strategy by Donald Trump, and part of the reason that he won the election. So I remember we talked to somebody on the Young Turks, and he was down in Western Virginia, and he said, listen, Hillary Clinton tells us that all of our jobs are going to be gone. Donald Trump comes in and lies and tells us that he's going to bring back the jobs. But he's at least got the decency to lie to us.
Is it a lie, or is it what he's trying to do and just hasn't done it?
So 50%.
What have Democrats done to help me?
To be fair to the Democrats, as someone earlier said, in this case, they would at least protect Medicaid and SNAP cuts, okay? And so that goes to the bottom 30%. Okay, it's okay to give the rich tons of free tax cuts, tons of subsidies, but when you give it to someone who's starving, oh, no, that's a real problem.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I said it's okay that you're giving them free stuff, but it's not okay to help me with my taxes.
So, brother, then answer this for me. Then why don't they only propose a tax cuts for the middle class? Why don't they say, hey, we're not going to cut from the poor and we're not going to give to the rich. We're only going to do it for the middle class. Why don't they ever do that?
From what I understand, they're not cutting out the good parts of Medicaid. They're only cutting out the corruption and fraud. So you laugh at that. Is that okay? Can we agree that we should cut out fraud from Medicaid?
That is not what this is at all.
What do you mean it's not? There's tons of fraud in it.
No, here's a trick, okay? There's tons of fraud at the Pentagon.
You're right. We can agree on that.
Fraud at the Pentagon, and they added to the fraud.
But it's not only Republicans helping the rich.
Here's what happened on Medicaid, okay? They say, okay, we need a work requirement, so we're going to cut 10 million people off of Medicaid. But Medicaid is for poor people. So if
they've been on it for 20, 30 years.
The minute they get a job, they actually,
it's not a permanent thing.
Hold on, they make enough money to get out of Medicaid.
They don't. They stay on it forever.
So that it's a trick that it eviscerates Medicaid.
But they haven't. There are people that stay on it for 10 years at a time.
You know that if you need Medicaid and you don't have health care through a job, and your kid gets cancer, we're going to let them die. Why? Because the top 1%, it's going to happen, brother. According to
things happen every day.
According to estimates, 70,000 people are going to die because of those Medicaid cuts.
And why?
So do you believe everything is here? Tax cuts for the rich just needed to be larger and larger. 1.1
So you're telling me you're okay with fraud as long as people
get
what they
I'm not okay with it, but they're not cutting fraud. They're cutting the entire Medicaid.
Hey.
All right. My last claim is media and money control all of politics.
Hey, nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Okay, so we disagree on the framing. We might not disagree on the substance. So when you say they control all of politics, I feel like that breeds a lot of cynicism, which is kind of my issue with populism. Is you tell these people like it's hopeless, corporations, media control all of it. But what's kind of implied in your premise, like media, for example, media is effective because it influences the people who actually vote and have a lot of power. Same thing with super PACs. They're spending advertisements all the time. So I think when you paint this narrative that they control all of it, disproportionate, yes, a lot more than they should. Yes, we agree. Campaign finance reform, yes. I feel like a lot of people, especially my generation.
Why is he justifying this? Money is the root of all evil. Cash rules everything around me. Dollar bill, y'all. Even Addison Rae know this. Money is everything. Money runs politics. That's it. That's all it's ever been. I even drew the shit. So I don't want to hear none of the finicky, the big bat, bickering bat, all that pity whack, pity pat, patty whack, booty crack, coochie smack. Because everybody knows that all this shit being ran by money since the jump. And I'm tired of these niggas trying to sit here at like we just some like stupid ass peon ass nigga. Like we just supposed to sit here like, oh yeah, I believe in you, Kamala Harris. I believe in you, Donald Trump. Like show. But how these niggas couldn't even pass the bills. From what I seen, I was doing my research. Niggas couldn't even pass half the bills that they was promising. So shit, what am I supposed to do? But how am I gonna believe it? They can't even pass the bill. Can't even pass them. The only bills they was getting was the ones that Trump was doing. That was it.
Just check out of politics. Like corporations are going to do what they want to do. The media's going to do what they want to do. I'm just going to scroll on TikTok. And I feel like it's very damaging to our society.
Yeah. So number one, I'm a huge believer in hope. So I would never say don't get involved in politics. In fact, that's why I started Justice Democrats to bring progressives in Congress. I started Wolfpack to take money out of politics. And Rebellion PAC is saying, no, get involved. And that 2028 primary on the Democratic side is maybe the most important election of our lifetimes. We have to pick a populist so that we'll actually deliver for the American people. So if you deliver for the American people, if you stop lying to them and say you're going to do things and then never do it, if you actually do those things that are very, very popular, then you'll re-energize the entire voting
so when
base.
you say we need to pick a populist, is your definition of populism just like when good things happen, that's populism? Like,
no.
Is it conceivable for there to be a candidate who is a great president, for example, but they're not necessarily a populist? Or is that like necessitated?
So all populism means is serving the average guys as opposed to serving the corporate donors. So I'll give you no, it's not a marketing technique. It's very you're asking if it's vague or specific, and it couldn't be more specific. There's literally a populist plank on tyt.com, and that's the core of what our candidates run on Rebellion PAC. And those are 6 policies: money out of politics, anti-war, lower drug prices by negotiating at Medicare. By the way, lower housing prices by banning private equity from buying residential real estate. They're robbing us of our wealth creation in this country. That's going to destroy the middle class. So paid family leave. Again, these are very easy to pass. If you say you can't pass at 84%, then you can't pass anything.
But we don't pass
and
things
yes,
through public
higher
opinion
wages.
polls. We don't pass things through public opinion polls. You need people to get involved on a very granular level sometimes. Like for example, paid family leave. There's different ways to fund that. There's different amounts that can cover different amounts of months. I agree we need it. It's a very good policy. If you advocate for it properly, it will win. But this goes back to my initial problem.
It's Eminem. That's all. Eminem. That's it. That's it. Multi-level marketing scheme. Eminem. Like that's it. They exploiting media. They make money off the media. They make money off the whatever the fuck. And there it is. There it is. It's just this time they were able to make more money off of this side because it's a conservative side. Is what it is.
They like do that. Why do the Democrats never fight for ability?
I think the Democrats right now are extremely spineless. We don't disagree.
Okay, all right, good. But you know why they're spineless? Because their donors told them to be
I think they're also very scared. They're very risk averse.
Brother, let me tell you
risk averse. That's the actual problem.
No, I think the real problem is when you're at the top, you don't want anything to change. You want the status quo to remain the same. That is why mainstream media and establishment Democrats and Republicans say civility is the most important thing. Because if you're civil, you don't rock the boat. Why don't they want you to rock the boat? Because it's their boat. Okay.
It's such an oversimplification.
It is not an oversimplification. You know that in legislation on the Young Turks, we predict ahead of time what's going to happen. We have nearly 100% track record. You know why? Not because we're geniuses, but because it's super easy. Look at where most of the money is, and that side wins 100% of the time.
Passing legislation that's like very paradigm changing is just super easy. Is that your position?
So things like paid family leave, but again, anything that falls over 70%.
You agree that's complicated, right?
No, I don't think it's complicated at all.
Where's the funding coming from? How many months are covered?
Yeah, I get it. There's different issues you have to adjudicate. Yes, hold on. Let me answer this. Okay. So the earlier guy asked, would I bully the politicians? Absolutely. Why? Because I want to bully them and it makes me feel good. No, it's for a purpose. Although it's kind of fun. Okay, but it's for a purpose, brother. If you're voting against 84% of Americans, you're a traitor. You're a traitor to your voters. So why are you voting against 84% of the voters? If you're a Democrat, you're voting against 90% of your voters. If you're a Republican, you're voting against 74% of your voters. I know why you're voting against them because the donors told you vote against the American people. It is that simple. But you want to defend politicians for no reason. They're not your friends. They're not your allies.
It's not just a piece of paper that says paid family leave. There's stuff that goes into it that's complicated. Appreciate it.
All right, good to meet you, brother. I like your shirt.
Thank you, people over politics. So I do agree with you that money has a control over politics. We see super PAC spending. We see Mitch McConnell and longtime figures, 40 years in politics, and I'm pretty sure everyone's just sick of it.
I was not expecting that to be his voice.
I don't agree with on the media half, and I kind of want to explain why. A lot of people don't tune into mainstream media anymore, and I'm sure you know this. You run one of the biggest progressive channels on YouTube, but it's hard to see media having this big influence when so many people are tapped out. So I kind of wanted to understand why you think it's.
They spent $16 billion at a minimum in this last election cycle. Where did most of that money go? It went to mainstream media. Okay, so mainstream media has 16 billion reasons to make sure you don't find out that the donor money is corrupted. Okay, so now what is the effect of that? So when you see in the 2016 race, for example, Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, right? Now Donald Trump eventually got about $5 billion in free media. And now to be fair to him, he did a lot of interviews, and Hillary decided not to do a lot of interviews. But a part of that was the media's decision. You know how much before the primaries ended, Trump had already gotten $2 billion in free media, right? Do you know how much Bernie Sanders had gotten? $28 million. About what, I think 1% of what Trump had gotten, because mainstream media thinks that Bernie Sanders would actually do change, and they don't want change. They're all at the top. Almost all the anchors are millionaires, and the last thing they want is a left-wing populist who's actually going to make a difference. Oh, fake populists like Trump, no problem. Send in the clowns. Establishment Democrats and Republicans, Mitch McConnell, and Nancy Pelosi, both raised $1 billion from corporate donors and have done exactly what the corporate donors want. They're like, that's great. Let's pump them up. But whenever you got a real challenge to power, mainstream media attacks.
Speaking on the terms of left-wing media, if you consider your networks like, I guess MSNBC, if we're going to classify that as left, CNN, kinda. I don't think these are the type of networks that would completely destroy and eviscerate a liberal candidate. Think about someone like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Think about somebody like Jamie Raskin. If they were going to be in a primary, I don't think that you're going to see a whole smorgasbord just go after them right now. I'm pretty sure you would have seen CNN or MSNBC's coverage tilt favorably towards them compared to someone like Donald Trump if it would have been nominated in the election.
That's actually not true. MSNBC is the biggest opponent of progressive populists in the Democratic Party. Whenever, like when Bernie was about to win after he won the first 3 states in 2020, then they sent out Chuck Todd, Chris Matthews, and others to say Bernie wins. He's a communist that'll start executions in Central Park. He said that's what Chris Matthews said. Chuck Todd talked about his followers being brown shirts. I said in the beginning of that campaign, the people in power will be so opposed to Bernie that by the end they'll call him anti-Semitic, and they called him anti-Semitic. Okay, even though he's Jewish. So on AOC, no one covered her in mainstream media before her historic primary win. We covered her 34 times. So the reason for that is because yes, some parts of media now are better. To your original point, independent media is better for all its problems and warts and etc. It's at least opening up the discussion to more free thought and getting people thinking. But mainstream media has you inside these tiny guardrails, and the minute you step outside of it, and populist left always steps out of it and says, "Why don't we deliver for the American people?" I'll give you one last example. Those guys attack. So when Biden went to do student debt relief, Stephanie Rule did so Fox News did segments on it against it, CNN did segments against it, and then Stephanie Rule on MSNBC did a segment against it because that's an economic issue. The minute it's an economic issue, they all circle the wagons and they play good cop, bad cop, and they all say no.
Hi, Preston. Nice to meet you.
And nice to meet you.
So I think I really want to focus a lot on the media part with you, just because mainly for the fact that I think we can all unbiasedly agree that, let's be honest, Trump during his whole election campaign, it was very anti-Trump, very
I don't even know what that other guy was talking about. I'm not gonna lie.
pro-Democrat, and how he was the absolute most terrible thing that could happen if he gets voted in as basically a threat to our democracy. And so when it comes to that and everything, let's be honest, very high percentage was very negative towards him. How can you explain the outcome if the media controls everything when it comes to elections and politics?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and so I want to get asked often. So when you talk about money in politics, it controls almost all the races, but the ones that are the smallest, it controls the most, because there's almost no media coverage of a Montana congressional race. So whoever has more money wins. In fact, in congressional races, whoever has more money wins 95% of the time. But the one giant exception is presidential races, because there's so much free media in presidential races, and everyone is paying attention. So you can actually go the route of going to media yourself and making your own argument. That's why I thought Trump would win in 2016. That's why I was really worried about it in 2024, because Democrats have become like corporate talking point robots, the establishment Democratic politicians. So they don't like to engage with Joe Rogan or these other folks. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're giving away billions of dollars in free media. Trump had the right strategy. But at the end of the day, because he was all over media and he got billions of dollars in extra media coverage.
Right. It's like you risk not going through that much exposure. Why didn't Kamala go on Joe Rogan? Was that not the biggest sell of all time? That's true. Like Shannon Sharp. I mean, yeah, Shannon Sharp definitely did do good, especially with the Cat Williams thing. But the only reason Cat Williams did, because this nigga was predicting that he moved as a prophet, right? And Shannon Sharp definitely did have like a good thing going, but I don't know. It just seems unfair.
That is part of the reason why he won.
While media has influence and everything else, it still comes down to the individuals to vote. So whenever it comes down to that, then how can you explain they still have control, even though at the end of the day, it's still the individual's right and the individual's ability to go vote and make.
Because how does anything ever get into your head? So like when you go to a voting booth, you see names, right? But if you never saw that person and you never heard their name because they didn't have enough money for ads and the media didn't cover it, that person has no chance of winning. It's like there's a mythology in mainstream media that two people go into an octagon and then people decide which one is better, right? That's not how it actually works.
To be able to see all these things.
Hey, nice to meet you. Kyle?
Yeah, so I think money doesn't necessarily have a mind, so I'd like to kind of take it to who's making the decisions on how to allocate the capital. And so does party loyalty here play at all, right? Like at the end of the day, you're going to have politicians who can influence where that capital is coming from, and if you're towing the party line saying what they want you to say, that to me seems more impactful than the ability to go and find donors yourself to raise a significant capital to win a race.
So let me give you a couple of examples. So Ted Cruz got $13 million from the Mercer family when he was running for president in 2016. If you remember, Donald Trump insulted his wife, so at the Republican National Convention, Ted Cruz did not endorse him. So, but right afterwards, he changed his mind and started phone backing for Donald Trump. What happened in between? What happened in between is after his speech, he went up to the suites that the Mercer family had at the convention, and they slammed a door in his face, and they said, we now have a new guy that we're picking. It's like the Hunger Games. So the sponsors decided that they were going to go with Donald Trump now. So Ted Cruz, realizing I'm going to lose my donor money if I don't do as I'm told, said, I'm so sorry. And then he grabbed the phone and was like, oh yeah, Donald Trump is the best. Forget about my wife. Who cares about her? Why? Because he's going to seek the donor money. But you can do it on both sides. Look, we have Mo Brooks, for example, is a Republican who was running for Senate in Alabama. And he gave a speech where he said, look, in order to become a chairman of a committee, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, you have to raise $1 million. But you cannot raise it from John and Jane Doe. So you raise it from the industry you're supposed to be regulating with the implicit promise that you do not regulate them and you give them whatever you want. So in order to be a committee chairman, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, you must take what is a campaign contribution, but really a bribe from that industry and make sure you protect that.
I think it's a cynical view that the...
Yes, it is. And it's true.
Again, I think what we're talking about is to what degree does the political structure and government structure just enable, right? Like, I don't think like a claim around Republicans only caring about the poor.
I don't even know why who would combat this argument? Like I feel like anyone combating this argument is just arguing just to argue. Like everybody knows that it runs politics. Like,
we're not caring about the poor, only caring about the rich. Are they just acknowledging the practical reality of in order to facilitate a successful race, you have to raise capital, so you have to please donors? So they're not.
So when
evil,
do we ever get pleased? Like they don't need to be evil. They don't need to be evil. They could just be like, hey, I want status. I want to be a senator. So I'm going to take 13 million here, 10 million there, et cetera, and then I'm going to serve the donors. Yeah, you could say it's necessary, but that's why the system sucks. That's why we need to change it and get money out of politics. If you get money out of politics, then they have to serve the voters and be our representatives instead of the representatives of the donors.
In terms of the solutions here, though, money will always play a role in politics. Is there a practical reality where you think money is not going to play a role in?
So between 1938 and 1978, bribery was illegal. And in that 40 years, we built the greatest middle class the world has ever seen. Was our system perfect? No. But productivity went way up, and so did wages. In 1978, the Supreme Court...
It doesn't have to come from bribery.
Yeah, it can't pay contributions.
When they're coming from donors, they can still pour money into media campaigns to influence the outcomes of the elections. So, like money, practically speaking, I just don't see how you ever get to a point where money is not at all influential in a political race.
Yeah, so don't give up hope. So can you do it? Of course you can, because we had it between 38 and 78. We did, and it led to the greatest middle class. It led to the best economy.
Did social media in that period of time?
So, but social media is better than mainstream media.
But you're taking a historical period where today...
So you're saying just give up. Don't even try to take donor money.
I'm saying there are things that you can make progress on today, but I'm saying practically
I
speaking...
think you can get a constitutional amendment. You know why I think you can get a constitutional amendment to get money out of politics? Because 93% of Americans believe that politicians represent their donors and not their voters. All right, thank you.
Right.
Hey there.
I just think they care about their donors. I don't think they care about us. I think everybody should know that, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, you look familiar.
So on the local level, right, LA City Council could upzone everything. Let construction companies, property management companies come in, wholesale develop, build massive apartment buildings, run...
Look at this shit. Hey, Grok, is Donald Trump showing signs of dementia? Yes, based on 2025 expert analysis, Dr. Gartner, hiding gay issues, rambling, paraphasia, and family Alzheimer's history. Trump shows signs of cognitive decline like frontotemporal dementia. Oh my God. No way. Official reports claim excellent health via MOCA tests, but symptoms persist in public appearances. Wow. I don't know. I don't think so, but maybe.
On these properties, right? LA City Council has not done that. Are you saying development companies, real estate companies, and property management companies are not moneyed interests?
No, that's amazing that you picked that example. There's two industries that are the most impactful on local and state races. It's utility companies and real estate companies. So real estate companies totally own New York and California, even though they're Democratic. So Andrew Cuomo, when he was governor, passed a whole bunch of things. There were tax breaks for real estate companies, and it didn't help the average person at all. In California, we raised $24 billion to help the homeless, and homelessness went up 53%. Why? Because they do things like, oh no, we're going to have more affordable housing, and then they build high rises that are for super rich people, and then you don't get the affordable housing, and homelessness goes up.
They don't build, because if you live on a block of single family housing, okay, and city council makes it so that next to your house, some company could come in, destroy it, build a huge apartment complex on your block. People hate it. NIMBYism is real. No one wants that on their block, and city council doesn't want to freak out their voters. Like there's this thing called like politics where they don't want to massively upset people, so they don't rock the boat. And, the homeowners aren't giving any money. Like real estate developers are not the little guy, and they're not getting their way.
Yeah. So it's interesting that you picked that example because I actually have personal experience with that through someone that works at TYT. They ran for city council. As I said earlier, it's easier for progressives to win at city council level because it's a smaller group of people and you can knock on doors, and that's what she did. So that's why sometimes the city councils are better, certainly better than the national guys, etc. But when her experience was when she went in, the real estate interests were massively powerful. She fought against them. It was in the middle of LA, and eventually they cared so much about getting her out that they started funding someone to make sure she's removed from the city council. Real estate has massive interest.
But what's the money on the other side of not building?
So no, there is no, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why real estate almost always wins. You're saying, no, sometimes at the local level, real estate interests don't win. Yes, because very rarely, because it's such smaller percentage of people voting, you can get progressives in there that block that because they're not representing the donor interests. But even in places like LA, they eventually get overwhelmed by the money that real estate guys bring in. And that's, I literally have personal experience with what happened in LA. In that
I want to move to media. Don't you think, especially with alternative media, people, creators like chase the audience and they try to be as outrageous as possible to like, because I don't know, outrage sells and audience capture is a huge thing. So they're running around chasing audiences. It's not money coming up top down. It's like bottom up. People are angry, want dissent, like disagreement.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that, brother. So there's a giant distinction between mainstream media and now online and independent media. So as I said earlier, online and independent media has at least got people thinking. It's a wide range of opinions, and I greatly prefer it. Mainstream.
The day this man drops, who is this? We need this nigga ASAP. Who is this? Oh, it's T'Challa, but it's like some god tier T'Challa or something like that. Who is this? Brother Voodoo? Brother Voodoo? What are his... Oh my god. What are his powers? Wait, I really want to know what the fuck this nigga do. He looks raw as fuck. He's a fascinating character in the Marvel universe with a rich array of mystical powers rooted in Haitian voodoo traditions. Based on the latest available information portraying the comics, he has enhanced strength by summoning spirit of the deceased twin brother Daniel Drum. He has mystical spells and incantations. He has extra-dimensional entities and objects. These incantations allow him to tap into external mystical power sources for specific effects, such as energy manipulation or protection, without over-relying on his personal reserves. Astral projection and spiritual communication and control. This nigga's raw as fuck. What are we doing? Magical energy manipulation? Get him in there. What are we doing? They need to drop this nigga ASAP. Drop him ASAP. Oh, we need him ASAP. 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 Okay, his downside is that he has to like be disciplined for it, I guess. That's insane. insane.
Media does not care, and it doesn't do the thing you're talking about. What it does is it says, no, Joe Manchin is a moderate, Mitch McConnell oftentimes is considered a moderate, etc. That's nonsense. They do nothing but lies to get you to vote for corporate politicians on the Democratic side.
You think alternative media is helping our politics?
Is much better than mainstream media. Mainstream media says, no, I'm sorry that I keep going back to it because it's such an obvious and stark case. Paid Family, the 16% they call moderates, like Manchin and the Republicans that block it. The 84% that want it, they go, oh, radicals. No, progressives like Bernie Sanders are radicals. They're total giant liars.
Who's still watching CNN to get their political opinions?
A lot of people, older voters, over 70-year-olds.
But you're not acknowledging the whole, there's so many people not paying attention to those channels anymore.
And that's a great thing. That's why after the Trump election, I said, at least we're out of the establishment prison. But we're in the populist woods, and there are things that go bump in those woods. I know, not everybody, you're not going to get all the hosts you want. You're not going to get all the opinions you want. You're not even going to get truth all the time. In fact, most of the time, you're not even going to get truth from the right and sometimes even from the left, okay? So, but what you're going to get is a wide range of opinions, and at least you get to make that decision instead of mainstream media shoving it down your throat.
All right, thank you, brother. Glad I can come back up.
All right, great.
So you made an interesting claim. It's very hard to disagree with media and money control all of politics. It's more so who controls the money. When President John Kennedy passed Executive Order number 11110, which began the process of abolishing the Federal Reserve, which we know is a private institution, he was mysteriously assassinated a couple months after that. So the question is that the money powers of the world, they have a monopoly over the things that we use to transmit and receive information. So my question to you is, how exactly do you combat such a machine that has been in existence since mankind has been on the planet?
Yeah, that's why I mentioned.
You don't. You just have to stop participating. They've had too much time to refine the intricacies of why the establishment can never be overthrown. And so it's honestly up to us. The world is in our hands, guys. It's up to us. We gotta do something with it. Because if we don't, Thanos should have killed us all. That's a moment from Endgame when Cap was in therapy. Remember that moment? But actually, I think the regime has just been here for so long. It's nearly impossible to overthrow it, besides not partaking in it. Also, getting people elected that you really want to see make a change and who are willing to, you really kind of need, like, I'm not even joking when I say this, you need like suicidal presidents. Like President Trudeau suicide, that'd be a crazy bar. But you really do need you need presidents who are going to be like, okay, the odds of me getting killed is like pretty high here. And I'm probably going to have to fight crazy demons and spiritual entities while I'm here. So let me at least try to, it's like we're on some volcanic hell and we need to get across this bridge, this thing, but the bridge that bridges us from that other part of the canyon is melted off. But we got this chain and we need someone who can throw the farthest chain across and link us over there. But the problem is the only way for it to work is if the person goes with the chain because it's a catapult and they got to be able to link themselves over to the chain to hook it over. Some of them are going to have to sacrifice. But if we can get as far as possible, if we can get it far enough and reset every time, we can get it far enough and get it on there, we can actually win. It just takes time and effort. But other than that, we're not getting across that bridge, brother, without a sacrifice. I'll tell you that. But when we get it one time, that's all we need.
To 78, because when you make it illegal, it's much, much harder to do the bribes. It's not that today people don't get bribed, they do, but it's more rare, right? But in 76 and 78, the Supreme Court had two decisions that basically said corporations are people and they have a right to spend unlimited money on politics. When they did that, one of the dissenting justices, Justice White, said, you just killed our democracy. And that's exactly what happened. Now, theoretically, you could overturn the Supreme Court, but you're not going to overturn the Supreme Court that is massively pro-corporate. That's why I'm saying you need to do an amendment to go above the Supreme Court, but you can. And that's why I started Wolfpack. If you get money out of politics, if you say in the Constitution in a way that the Supreme Court cannot overrule, these people cannot buy our politicians, that is the answer. We can get back to a time where we created great growth in this country. And most of the earnings went to the middle class. Do you know that after those Supreme Court decisions, productivity still skyrocketed, but wages flatlined? And the difference was $12 trillion that they stole from the average American, went to corporate executives instead of going to the average guy.
That sounds fantastic. I'm not disagreeing with it. But what I'm asking you is, you are talking about fundamentally restructuring the entire political system, which will require, frankly, Thomas Jefferson said once that the tree of liberty has to be watered from time to time with the blood of tyrants and patriots. Money has obviously integrated itself into the Supreme Court, into the Congress House, into the White House even. With all the money that President Trump did lose in the election because he lost, to quote him, he lost billions of dollars. But he was donating billions of dollars. If we don't have, right now, do you have a populist candidate that we as the people should be supporting? Who's the candidate?
So we're going to see that through the system, the primaries, et cetera. But Jon Stewart's amazing, Ro Khanna's amazing.
And how much money have they gotten from corporate donors?
So Ro Khanna does not take any money from corporate donors. If you're going to be in Rebellion PAC, you're not allowed to take corporate PAC money. Okay. So there's a way to do it that way, get enough of the legislators that are honest. And by the way, there's some Republicans who are now not taking corporate PAC money. Thomas Massey, Josh Hawley.
Yeah.
So that's the road to redemption, right, et cetera. But an amendment fixes the entire system.
But the question then goes back to, in order to get an amendment, that requires a 2/3 majority in both houses of Congress, correct?
No, you can actually go around Congress. 2/3 of the states can propose a convention to just propose an amendment, and then 3/4 of the states have to ratify.
Which requires the legislature to take action, right? So how do you get legislatures that already are slaves to the corporate donors? Because the book that I believe in says money, the love of money is the root of all evil, and I think that's absolutely true. A lot of these brothers love money. A lot of these sisters love money. So how do you then work, because what this actually is more of a moral issue. So how do you then re-establish proper functioning morality within the hearts of politicians who have already demonstrated they've been bought by this thing called the US dollar? Because that's what this is.
Yeah, two ways to do that, brother. So number one, what Wolfpack does is it pressures state legislatures.
It's like you just need people who have self-integrity, self-dignity, who won't take any money. You need like spiritual people, people who have like real deep-rooted understanding of the cosmos, like scientists, Scientologists. Actually, maybe not Scientologists, because they are money-oriented. You just need like people who are not going to take money. It's very simple. How do we get people to not take money? Don't take money. Campaign on frugal spending, saving, right? Less wars, more money. Like, I don't know. There's just get real people in there, because it feels like it gets to a point where it's like you can move up in politics as much as you want, but then what happens is it gets to that point where you get that conversation from that, you know, the men in black suits, and then that's when it's like, okay, well, here's my exit point. Here's my detour.
The Republican guy or the conservative guy I was talking to earlier, remember we said when you get to the lower and local levels, it gets better and better. The national level is the worst because that involves the most amount of money. So state legislatures, you can move. In fact, Jamie Raskin was opposed to our legislation when he was a state representative in Maryland. And then we talked to him and we convinced him. And he said, you guys are right. Now I'm going to support the constitutional amendment. So you do get some really good people at the state level. So that's a much better path because they have less money. But even so, the bigger
state's fantastic. But we need changes that impact all Americans to take place at the national level. So it's fine for you to focus on state. I understand that. The lower ranking elected official is, the easier it is probably to change them. How do you change the person that's sitting currently at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue or the 9 Supreme Court justices that are currently on Capitol Hill?
So that's the great thing about the Wolf-Pack plan. It doesn't require the president at all, and it goes above the Supreme Court. So it doesn't require Congress, the president, or the Supreme Court. It's a total end run of the American people against Washington, D.C. And by the way, that's why the founding fathers put it in there, to make sure that if Washington got too corrupt, you can actually call for conventions at the state level and get it done. And how do you do that on a national scale? You need one incredible leader to, instead of worrying about himself, to worry about the American people. If he actually, anyone who gets money out of politics is going to have statues built of them all across the country. You need one brave and honest person to say, yes, I'm going to fight for all of you guys, and I'm going to put a world of pressure, yes, on politicians in my own party, to get this done.
So based on that, what does that ideal politician look like then? Because we haven't seen it. Trump ran, he said, we're going to drain this swamp. He hasn't drained the swamp. We're still waiting on the release of the Epstein files. We're still waiting on the full unredacted release of MLK. We're still waiting on the unredacted release of JFK. What does that actual candidate look like? Because all this rhetoric is fantastic. I got to tell you.
So in our lifetime, because of overwhelming money in politics, we haven't seen an ideal candidate like that, is what you're saying.
Right.
And I largely agree, except Bernie Sanders is super honest.
He doesn't have the.
So look, my problem with Bernie is that he didn't have the fight in him. Like, I love the brother, but he should have fought Hillary harder. He should have fought Biden harder. And you need strength to be able to win, right? So, but remember, FDR did it. JFK did it. LBJ did it.
You mean the same president? FDR did what? What did FDR do besides steal American wealth?
No.
What did he do?
He did Social Security.
Oh my God.
He helped labor.
FDR stole the last real wealth we had. He stole it when he forced Americans to turn and go to the Treasury and rate $20 an ounce.
No, it's totally possible. You've got to believe and you've got to have hope.
No, I'm going to run for office one day. I do believe it. If I may, just this really quick point. You're talking to somebody that's going to run for president in 15 years. Okay, I've already started this. I'm running for Congress in 2030. So it's not that I don't believe, but what I'm asking is, you are talking about the fundamental moral restructuring of America. Right now, 2025, there is no politician on Capitol Hill in the White House that has the sort of fire that you're describing.
And in 15 years, really? Not if I have something to do about it. How long can it be? How long will it be till he'll be running for president? I think it will take around that time. I think it'll take, let me see, like 14 years or something. I'm a long ways away. Around 13 and a half. Around 13, not even 13 and a half, 13 in like some months, I think. Because I'm going to be 22 in like a few months. So maybe I run for president. Are you going to vote for me? I think it'd actually be a great president. Like, genuinely. I've got the most empathy. I'm the most sharp, highest intellect, funniest, coolest, realist. I've been through the most. Yeah, but obviously it's just gonna take when it comes to presidencies, like I said, but it's just gonna come down to finances and how many donors you can get. That's the problem, is that the system is more effective with money, but it also changes the paradigm of what gets passed and what doesn't, or who wins or who doesn't. I don't know. So I would run. Like, I do genuinely think I could and would run, but I just don't know if I would win just off the basis of the structure and system itself.
What you're saying is again, it's great rhetoric. But if we don't even know what the ideal candidate looks like.
So the reason I mentioned somebody like Jon Stewart is you can't know ahead of time who the ideal candidate is.
Okay.
They got to come through the primary and win, right? But the reason I mention him is because he can get past the Praetorian Guard of the mainstream media because he's a celebrity. So that gets him to the Trump land where they cover him because, oh my God, he's famous, right? Okay. So that allows him to get past the media, get past money in politics. And if one person like that, whether it's him or someone else, then raise their hand and goes, hey, I'm with the 90% of Americans that want to get money out of politics, and you elect me, and I'm going to fight like hell, and I'm going to make sure that we end this problem, this scourge of money in politics. He will be intensely popular. He will win. He can execute that, and we can get the amendment. We've gotten so many amendments. They are definitely possible. They want you to give up hope. Don't give up hope. Wolfpack has a plan to do that. Rebellion Pack has a plan to elect a president that can do that. Let's go execute those. Let's go fight for populism and win.
I got a lot more to say. That was great.
Okay, thank you, brother. I'm torn on this because there's a couple people who didn't talk, but everybody made good points and was certainly sufficiently aggressive. But Oliver, was it? Yeah, you made good points and you didn't come up a second time, so I'll go with you. Yeah, no problem.
Look forward to this opportunity. So my general claim is that Cenk Uygur's populism fails because it treats social issues as a distraction rather than it's essential to achieving economic justice. So kind of my claim here is that there are a lot of social issues that are really important and also really popular with American people, as you're talking about, with a lot of economic issues that are just as popular. If we look at something like the public opinion polling regarding Roe v. Wade, like 70% of Americans were against that, the overturning of that. And I think also what's important in this conversation is to say that the line between social and economic issues is not like very clear cut. If we look at something like abortion and reproductive rights, it is the case that if someone gives birth in this country, a woman gives birth, it's upwards of $18,000, which is a huge economic hit to her. And the Turnaway study found that when women get abortions, or if they're actually denied abortions, they follow up with them about 5 years later, they're 4 times as likely to either remain or have fallen below the federal poverty line. So I think just in general, I'm with you on the claim that we should focus on issues that Americans largely agree about. I just kind of have an issue with, I mean, I saw a recent appearance of yours that, culture war issues as it's framed just totally divide. I think there's a bit of a grain of truth to that, and we should focus on what unites us, but there are some cultural issues that really do unite us, even if that's not immediately clear in our media landscape.
Yeah, so let me agree and disagree in part. So first of all, if you say, hey, here's a social issue that polls at 70%, should we lean into it? Of course. Okay. I'm saying don't lean into the social issues where we're in a great disadvantage. Okay, so this is simple logic and strategy. So for example, Trump again did the travel ban. Originally it was a Muslim ban. You remember that's what he promised on the campaign trail in 2016. And so he's done some variation of that. What I tell Democrats, because it affects me and it affects vulnerable communities, you should focus on that first. No, do not focus on that first. Focus on the things that unite us first. And then you come in and you pass a public option or a paid family leave or higher wages. What you do is you earn credibility with the average American. And they go, okay, now I'm willing to listen. You delivered for me. I now have higher wages or lower drug prices. So what were you saying about the Muslim ban, or what were you saying about transports, or whatever issues that we care about and need people protected on?
And I'm really sympathetic to a lot of that. I guess my major issue is a lot of the political revolutions that we see are founded on social issues. Let's take a look at something like the Civil Rights Movement, which was followed up by the Voting Rights Act and other things like that that drastically improved people's economic standing because they were able to participate in the labor force without discrimination. We see that they go hand in hand. So I guess I'm just wondering, if we're fighting for women to have reproductive autonomy, which allows them to be full participants.
When you try to bring the different groups together, when you try to unite the country, unite different races and different economic classes. So what really puts the powerful back on their heels, what they're really worried about, is if we all unite. That's why I'm trying to tell all you guys here, please let go of the Republican politicians and the Democratic politicians that have been driving us apart. So if they use social issues to bring us back together, great. But they almost always use the social issues to divide us, so that we're so at loggerheads that we don't go, hey, maybe we should raise our wages.
I think it depends on the issue, and I think you can definitely speak to both things. I guess I'm just wondering that if we use that type of reasoning, what would be your advice during around the Civil Rights Movement? Because, for example, racial integration was very unpopular before the Civil Rights Act was passed and the Brown v. Board of Education decision. Would you say that politicians don't lean into it? It's too controversial. You're going to alienate people. Just focus on economic issues. And if they did that, where would we be today?
Yes, you're right. There has to be a moral exception from time to time. So then the question is, wait, is it a giant moral exception, or is it a relatively small issue on a hill we're choosing to die on? So let me give you the distinction. So gay marriage, I thought, was a core constitutional right. So even when it was very unpopular, I fought for it. And we fought and fought and fought until we won, and we convinced the majority of the American people. And only after we convinced the majority did we convince Democratic politicians like Obama and Biden to move. If we had just gone after the politicians, we would not have succeeded in the beginning. So now when you get to trans women have the right, or they must be allowed to go into sports leagues like the WNBA, we're not at a core constitutional issue.
And I'm not even addressing that issue. I'm talking directly, because you talk about a moral issue. And I think abortion is a moral issue, and everyone in this circle will agree with that, regardless of what side they fall on it. And I think that
we fight super aggressively on that.
So I guess just then I'm worried that when your messaging is so much cultural issues distract, cultural issues divide, what it sounds like to me is women's bodily autonomy isn't a core moral issue that is worth fighting for in the same way that gay marriage is to you. That's what it sounds like.
No, I love that you're clarifying that. No, that's a core constitutional right. That's your liberty that's being taken away. You want to talk about cancel culture? You know, that's when you say, hey, you don't have the right to control your own body. We're canceling that right. We're taking that freedom away from you. Look, when you look at transgender issues, for example, so should they be allowed to serve in the military? And I know a lot of right wing will disagree with me, but yes, that's a core constitutional issue. Yes, they should have the same rights. But I don't have a right to play in the NBA. They don't have a right to play in the WNBA. That's not a constitutional right. My problem is sometimes the extreme left, they say, okay, no, you should do the maximalist approach, and that is a better strategy.
We're gonna die on that hill,
basically. And I'm saying don't die on that hill. And I'll give you an example again from my own community. I'm desperate to get the Palestinians peace. I'm desperate to get Israel to stop the genocide and attacking, etc. So they do a protest in Washington, D.C. They burn the American flag and write Hamas on a statue. No, don't do that.
I'm in agreement with you.
Because if you burn the American flag, you're saying you want to drive Americans away from you. No, invite Americans, bring American flags to that protest.
Could not agree more. I think then I just don't see then how that comes back to the claim that culture wars kind of divide us. And if they do, does that mean
did you not see the trans issue divide the hell out of us?
100%. You are using one issue to describe all of the culture.
But then you got DEI.
Okay, well, we can talk about that. But I mean, you would then have to specify and be a bit more clear. Because look, I understand that we're on YouTube and the goal is to get clicks. And when you make kind of very absolute statements like all Democrats and Republicans are the same.
Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying?
I see what I'm saying. I probably agree a lot with you on a lot of stuff. I think that when you sideline social issues and make it seem like social issues are secondary, to me, I think that there are some things that shouldn't be secondary.
All I'm trying to get people to realize is that, first of all, in my opinion, the right wing is the one that brings up all these issues. They went looking for a fight on critical race theory. They went looking for a fight on DEI. They went looking for a fight on transports. When they get you in a situation where they've got you on an unpopular policy,
they do a whataboutism, and then they snap on you as if you're in the wrong for just expressing your point of view. They do it all the time.
Correct.
Stop falling into that trap and that ambush.
And I agree with you. I definitely agree with you in part. I think the problem as well with how the prompt is framed is it treats right-wing fake culture war issues that they make up with real actual issues like women's bodily autonomy. So I think there's just an issue
your distinction is no problem at all. It's just what I've lived in the real world is that when I say, hey, maybe we shouldn't go maximalist on every issue, all the other left-wing hosts attack me and go, you're not pure enough. I'm going to get more clicks than you by being even more pure.
And I'm the first person to stand and agree with you that maximalism might not be the correct solution. Often isn't. I just think, and as we're winding down, it's just really important to not neglect social issues such as women's access to their own bodies, such as LGBTQ rights. Okay, good. Then I guess then ask.
I think though he's taking this disingenuous stance where he's using that as a, pity or tailor to people's emotion. You get what I mean? Women's body, all these rights, all like that stuff is just annoying when they try to use like your emotion and empathetic side to their advantage to get this like one up on you. It's basically like if you feel like this particular way on this particular subject, then you're bad. Even if it negates all fundamental logic. So you look like the asshole when you're just using, you know, science and like common sense and logic for your argument, but in some way it can be sadistic or not as empathetic as most people would portray it to be. So it's like this like whataboutism argument that I hate.
Asking you moving forward, maybe make an emphasis that your populism doesn't neglect the very groups that you claim to want to fight for.
You got to do
it. Awesome.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All right. First of all, 20 against 1, I was born for it.
I'm a populist like Jake, and I was familiar with the Young Turks. His debate style was very, very good. I think he gave both the opposing speaker and his...
sharp. I mean, hey, I'd vote for him if he has good stuff, but I mean, his beginning stuff was not that great. I'm just going to keep it 100. But he looks sharp.
Opportunity to have an actual conversation, which is a rarity on a show like this, I have to say.
I've seen Cenk move a little bit. You know, the 2018 Cenk of Justice Democrats did really focus on these issues like he was sitting here today doing. And I would love to see a return of that Cenk.
I think in my conversation, he kind of dodged a little bit. I would love to have a little bit more of an open discussion on kind of how he aims to reconcile racial differences in this country.
I don't want him to lean away from social issues and not put emphasis on them because they're hard. Shying away from it because it might lose you some people isn't the way that progress is made.
In a lot of online debates, people are really playing to the audience at home. They're not really trying to convince the person they're talking to reconsider their assumptions. And Oliver was able to successfully get Cenk to realize, no, actually, social issues are important.
Z did absolutely amazing. I'm actually a follower of hers on TikTok, and I've seen a lot of her content. And we do disagree. We're on completely opposite sides of the political spectrum, but she spoke with clarity, she spoke concise points. She made Jay backtrack just a little bit, which is always fun to watch, especially again in a show like this.
So one of the people who was right-wing said it to me at the end, after we wrapped, he said, I was really surprised on how much we all agreed on. Exactly. But you got to get past the media, the money in politics, and the politicians to get to the places where we agree.
Sure. Yeah, I think that was a good video. I think it went over some good topics and good talking points. Some of them were okay. Some of them were a little bit, you know, low IQ, I'm not going to lie. But good video. Jubilee always goes for those clickable ones, and I guess his name is Sheck. That's how you pronounce it. I don't really know how to pronounce it that well, but seems pretty cool. Donald president may be the most influential president of this century per CNN. 100%. He's the most captivating. He's just the biggest. No glaze. If you show up to work on your days off to kick it, you're a loser. True. Let's see. All right, I think that's really about it. Okay, Sabrina's gonna be doing her Lollapalooza in like a little bit. I'm about to eat up, munch on this great meal and see what's good with it. Like some cheesy artichoke. Amazing. Spectacular. Like genuinely just great. All right, that's it. Okay, I'm just looking to see what's popping. All right, yep. All right, team. I'll see you guys when you order. Okay. Let me look sexy for the camera. Wait.